Okay, let's go. Call to order the Parks, Property and Streets Committee meeting on Monday, August 3rd at 1 p.m. Roll call, please.
Laskowitz here.
Val here.
House in here. And we have Jerry Aaron's as excused. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Do I have an approval or any kind of corrections to the minutes from July 6, 2026? Anybody?
Whoops. I watched.
Does your watch have anything you'd like to share? Okay,
I'll make a
try to
motion.
have a motion to approve. Okay, second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, item 4, comments, correspondence and concerns from the public. Seeing a few people from the public here. So, all you have to do is raise your hand, state your name and your address, and we can go through everybody. So, hands, anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Sue West.
Could you stand up and just give your name if you, because you'll be part of the minutes, and we want to make sure we know name and address.
Sue West, and I live on 2217 Overlook.
Okay,
And
you
I'm
signed
here
in.
year round.
Okay, you signed in, right?
Yes,
But do you have a comment?
yes. Regarding the dog,
Uh-huh. Can you stand up?
I sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. We can hear you better.
It's just-
Sorry.
Unfortunately, we don't.
My husband thinks I talk too loud.
One of these days.
What does he know?
In the club. Okay.
First of all, we have a beautiful dog park. It's huge. You know, people comment on it. For the locals who are here all the time that use that 1 to 2 times a day. You know, there's little things like between the gates, the 2 gates now. There's probably this much grass and weeds. You have this little spot to get through the gates. So it's just not being trimmed.
Okay,
And I think that would be very helpful.
okay.
And I think, I know some other people might speak up about this, but my dog does not go in a pool of water. But I know there are those that do. And I know there's an individual who has kind of spoiled it for us. But I was just thinking that, could we come up with some ideas that it can be trimmed back a little bit more, maybe make a big stoned-in area by the water spout? So the pool would sit there and it wouldn't get all muddy.
What do you mean
because-
it's been spoiled? What do you mean about pools? Tell me what you mean.
Well, the pool was kind of taken away. You know, remember Jay? Well, you got to talk to him. I'll sit down on the bench.
Okay, so the pool isn't there anymore
No, it has to be brought in and taken out,
every day?
so.
But
But it just needs to be trimmed. I mean, around the fence and everything. Everything else in this village is taken care of so well.
Right, so by the entrance, by the 2 gates, right?
Yeah, and all along the fencing,
Okay,
it's just weeds up here.
Okay.
And I don't think we're responsible ourselves for taking care of that. Our responsibility is to clean up dogs' messes.
mhm,
And I know most of us, when we see dogs doing something and people don't see it, we always say, you got to clean up. So
mhm.
that's
Okay,
me.
thanks, Sue.
Guess I'll be next. Chris Roberts. I live over in, on Cherrywood. And my thing about the park is, and mind you, we'll go back to Jay for just a minute.
Jay who?
What's his last name? Anybody know? I don't know, but your people should know because he's got a ticket against him. And
You don't know who it is?
It's a lawyer and works with ice cream factories.
Jay,
no, off the top of my head, I don't know his last.
Jay someone, okay.
Someone brought in a horse trough. And Jay would fill it up every day. And by the time I'd get there in the afternoon, it was filthy. So you had to empty it, and then I would only fill it like this much.
Mhm.
Anyway, he got in trouble for that.
He got in
and
trouble for what?
several other things.
I'm sorry, got in trouble for what?
Using so much water that
To
it's
fill it up.
costing us a lot of money.
To fill the trough up, okay.
Right, so someone came from the Parks District and took it out. And then, so we waited a while and then the dogs need it with this heat. So I brought back what I had brought once before, which is a small wading pool. And again, it doesn't take much water. It's just fine, except for what she said is they took the full hose away. And they left us with that much hose. So in order to fill anything, including the water dishes, which we, by the way, bought,
Mhm.
because the others were in such bad shape. We have this huge area that's just a mud pit. So we would like, so somebody came and put some stone, but we need a larger area. Because now, because of the way the hose is, we have to shoot it away into the pool. So that we try not to get so much water on the grass.
Uh-huh.
And so that's one thing. I know there have been complaints about, the, like, you know, like the fence doesn't fit properly. So, one of the girls went and got this plastic thing that she puts in so her dog can't run out.
Mhm.
And there's like one or two of those things that seems to me there's a better way to fix it.
By the entrance?
Near the entrance, it
Yeah.
would be
Where they take the
where they
lawnmower.
take the lawnmower in and out.
Oh, yeah, the big gate.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, is there anything I'm missing? I think that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, anyone else?
Here,
One second,
one
Eric,
more.
Eric, there's a
Oh.
couple more.
Oh, matter.
No, Eric will wait till I'll do.
Diane Hickey, I live at the Shoals, I've been here about 3 years now. Love the dog park close to the house, it's big. All that, I've noticed over the past couple of years that there's many safety concerns. There's a lot of holes in the ground, whether it's from dogs or whatever. Those need to be filled. This is a very touristy place. More and more people do bring their dogs on vacations with them. I would like to think that the village would like to be represented well with a good looking dog park. I would propose maybe paving the parking lot and an entrance into the park. There are people's, there's a lady with muscular dystrophy that's in a wheelchair. And she can't come alone, she has to bring her husband, because he's got to push her, it's very hard, it's dangerous. And the park overall doesn't look good, because like she was saying, it needs to be weed whacked along the edges. I don't think just coming in and cutting the grass, although it's appreciated, does not seem to fix the safety concerns that I personally have, and other people have. Everybody kind of talks about it at the dog park, nobody did anything, so I did something and called. And so that's kind of why we're here today, is I don't want anybody getting hurt. Winter, summer, spring, doesn't matter, there's holes, the gaps between the two gates are horrible, like she said, there's this much room where a small dog can get through and get into the dog park, which may get into a bigger dog that may not get along. It's like you can't even cage them in that spot to make sure like it's okay for your dog to go in. There's no like safe zone like you do have between the two gates. So my concerns are safety. There's improvements that can be made to the dog park that would make it spectacular. I love it, it's big. The far end of it is in better shape because not a lot of people go down that far. And as far as the holes and stuff, they're more in the front third. I did take pictures today, if you didn't wanna see them. But
Sure.
those are my concerns. It's just, this is unsafe
Okay,
for residents or visitors.
okay,
And that's all I want. I
sure.
just want that addressed.
okay, if you can give, Sarah the photographs, if you have hard copies, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, any more,
Where's my phone?
any more
You
comments?
want it now or later?
Whenever you want, that you have got them in your phone?
I do, I took them this morning.
Okay, you could just email them to Sarah.
Okay,
I'll give you
Okay.
the information, sure.
fantastic, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
more comments? Anybody?
Hi,
Hi,
Becca Weiss.
what's your
I'm sorry,
address?
what's
And
your-
could you stand up?
Yes, stand up.
Address. Stand.
And
Becca Weiss, I live off of Town Line Road.
and what's your address?
Arbor Drive, this is Trey.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanna, I agree with everything Diane said. One thing, it's not just the gate that you come in, the dogs come in or people come in. That needs to be lowered, but the gate where they come in to mow the lawn, I bought a piece of PVC pipe and attached it with. We did, okay. You know, that does not require really any money. It's just a matter of somebody just going out there and moving the fencing down. It's not like it's gonna cost anything. I mean, if I had the tools, I could do it.
We're building the dirt up.
Yeah,
Maybe,
but I mean, it's really just,
The connection
the
of.
connection.
Right.
Yeah, it just needs to
Okay,
be
we can-
dropped down and
All right.
somebody must have hit that big gate. Cause it's out of whack. So it's just, it would be simple. It wouldn't be expensive. It'd just be somebody's time to do it.
Okay,
And I just wanted to mention that.
thank you.
I do have one thing that I just remembered. The outer gate, when you go walk in to let the dogs in, there's a big ratchet strap up there that is holding it together because it was falling apart and nobody did anything. So one of the dog owners got a ratchet strap and put it together. So that's the gate going into the place. It just really needs to be looked at hard. And like I said, if you could throw some cement, just like the parking lot and the entrance in, because we do have people in wheelchairs that go to the dog park. And it would be a lot more accessible for visitors as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
Where's Dale?
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, just your name and address. Sorry, I just have to write you into the record.
I can't hear you.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Pat Wisner. I live at 10533 Cherrywood Court. I've been part of the dog park family for probably 20 years or close to it, and have met numerous visitors and local people through the years. I have a couple of things that have gone on for most of those 20 years and probably beyond. We're so grateful. Those of us who have lived with dogs most of our lives are just very grateful that it's there, because it's a wonderful place for the dogs to socialize with one another. And I speak about my dog park family because they really are. These are the people I see day in and day out. And I know how happy the visitors are when they come here. We hear comments from visitors from all over the country who are so impressed with our dog park. Backing up a number of years before a lot of the problems we have now started, because they've been geological, and so as time's gone by, the weather has determined things. One of the people who came every day was the groundskeeper at Peninsula Players, and you've all seen what their property looks like. The property of the dog park is on a slope. Dog parks are never put on country club grounding. I mean, they're always the worst piece of property in a village that nobody wants to put their dream house on. And so it sits there empty with the weeds growing and so forth. This one happens to be next to the water treatment plant. I think you'll all agree that none of us necessarily wants our dream house there. And this groundskeeper said, what would help drainage, which is a problem through about 7 months a year, is drilling 3 holes. He had certain areas which would help for the drainage in the dog park in the winter time, when it is take your life in your hands to go to the dog park. Dogs don't realize this. They need to go every day, and most of us want to go every day with our dogs. But truly, it is a lawsuit waiting to happen. And I'm thinking that maybe if somebody could take a step back and talk to somebody who's in the business and get some advice from them, it might help in the wintertime, because the ice is a desperate situation. You pull up there, there's no concrete parking, as has been said. And so the ground is lumpy, it's icy, and it's a distance from where you park your car to where you get in. If we could have a little bit more of a safety factor for the winter, it would be a good thing. So that's one thing I would ask you to think about. Another thing I've thought about Lionheart is we need to be charged. This, all this stuff, all these improvements do cost money in the long run. I wish there was some way that could be thought about. To charge us all $100 a year or whatever. And have some kind of system where you can enter the dog park with your thumbprint or something. And those who aren't willing to do that, this is just one suggestion, charge us $20 a year. That might help too, because the tourists use it as much as the locals. And it would be nice if everybody would chip in a little bit. You could come up with something. I'm maybe not charging anybody anything, but having a bigger amount of money put aside to help the dog park. And I say this because there are an awful lot of people who are up here because they know that we are dog friendly in Sister Bay. So they like staying at places that will take the dog and have a big dog park. You can't believe the comments we get from people who come from all over and say, oh, I have to go 30 miles to get to whatever. So somehow budgeting, and whether we're a part of it or not, would be a really good idea. Just putting some money aside to take care of some of these smaller issues. And then if bigger issues come up and need to be addressed, come back to the idea of, you know, having a $20 a year instead of $5 to put your dog in there would be another suggestion. Lastly, I would say that the grounds are taken care of to a minimum. They truly are. They're mowed and the guy can't wait to get out of there because he has to move the picnic tables a couple times and all that. I get that. It's work to take care of it. But it does bring in a lot of revenue to various and sundry Sister Bay areas. Lots of people are staying not in Sister Bay and coming up and using this dog park. That's another factor. So we're drawing from all over the place. On the other side of the coin, we're glad that it's there and we're grateful to the village for starting the idea, which you can see has taken off because most of the other villages have dog parks. And theirs are much less used and much more vacant than our dog park is. So that for now, this is as much as I want to say. But anytime somebody wants to talk one-on-one, I'd be happy to talk.
Thank you.
Pat.
I do have
Does
one-
anybody else that, okay,
One,
Diane?
and I don't think of when she mentioned money. There is a donation box there.
Yep.
That's locked.
Mhm.
And I've heard other dog people say, I've seen people put money in it.
Uh-huh.
Where's the money go?
It's in a fund that goes into the general fund.
So
That,
can that money, because it was donated to the dog park, can a portion of the general fund then be applied to the dog park?
yes,
That's what I was wondering. I'm thinking, because of the safety, it's much cheaper to spend $200, $300, $500 for dirt or rocks and make minor improvements. Or someone could fall, break their leg and sue the village and get a couple $100,000 loss.
Mhm.
Nobody wants that. We
Yeah.
don't want that in the city. We don't want that to tarnish our village. But so that's why it's frustrating, because some of this just seems, it's just a little thing. It's just a couple $100. You know, you might even be able to get some on your staff. Maybe able to get some dog park people to maybe even help. Put up a sign, ask for volunteers. They probably would. We love our dog park. Dog owners, we're family. We see these people every day,
Mhm.
take care of each other. And
Okay, I'll take
so
one.
it's just the donation box, where does that money go? Was just my only question.
okay, guys, one more comment, Sue?
No, I forgot.
That's okay, they don't
Just talking.
Sorry.
Talking.
They don't mind that, so.
Well,
You're up, buddy.
I think we're gonna move on though, unless it's something we haven't already heard,
Oh, I'm sure it's
I don't
something I
know,
haven't heard.
but,
Dale was the one that graciously donated the new mulch from Peninsula.
oh, thank you. So did you wanna make a comment about the dog park, Dale?
Sure, I'm sorry, my family's up and I'm showing them around a little. Well, I'm not sure everything they covered.
Sorry, excuse me, could you state your name, please?
Sorry, my name is Dale Stofsling. Stafslien,
And your address?
10530 Fieldcrest Road.
Okay, anything that you want to
Okay.
add?
Well, I'll just kind of go and we'll kind of go from there. First, I just want to start that, it's great having the dog park and, that it's there for a lot of people. A lot of people use it from other, cities that come in. I've been coming for years here. At times we got certainly 25 dogs or more that show up and, so a lot of activity. One of the things that certainly I think kind of created this and some little bit of feelings that have been happening. One would be when we always had a tub or the little swimming pool at the park and all of a sudden it was taken away. And some things started happening and I'm kind of like, we never had a problem before. And all of a sudden we're kind of getting into where it's gonna be a fight, whatever. And the hose was changed and I understand you're gonna go and tell me because of a person. But a person should affect the dog park. I feel like there's a vendetta against, and I'm not gonna say a person's name because it's not with that, but
We did.
yeah, did you? Okay. But I feel that there's a vendetta against one person, so you took it out on everybody that uses the dog park. By the tub, the pool that went out. The excuse given to me was that it's for like a park, whatever you take in, you have to take out. I'm like, well, I think that kind of goes with food and stuff, and hopefully people aren't really smart enough to you don't bring food into a dog park with dogs. Or that we haven't seen it before, so we took it out. Well, there's been a pool there for at least, because I know I brought it in 2 years ago and you said you've seen one there longer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why all of a sudden now? Was there an ordinance written that nobody knew about? Did something happen that we didn't know about? That all of a sudden we couldn't have this little pool there anymore? So that created some hard feelings. It's kind of like, I'm not sure why, but again, I feel that you have a vendetta against a person, you're mad at a person for using the hose and using a lot of water. And it's like, okay, but for all the other people that use the park, why all of a sudden do we feel like we're shut down and can't have the things to use, like a hose to fill up a water jug for dogs? And you'll say, but there is a hose there. There is a problem with it that here's the water hose, or here's the water spout. And the hose goes out to about here. And then to fill up, I mean, it all gets wet there. And the other morning, would you put gravel there? But now if you go there, it's just another huge mud puddle. And basically you could sink in it. And so really, everybody's gotta stand in the dogs don't mind it. But human beings, we're standing in the middle of a mud puddle and you sink down and it's just, it's not good. And so why can't we have a long hose? I know you're gonna say that, well, because people take it and spray it. But again, you're back to one person, you're taking it out on everybody, and that's not fair. And you could say, well, whatever, but you can't. I mean, come on. It's used by a lot of people, more than one person. But the thing with the tub or the pool, why? Is because we're using too much water? We don't. I mean, sure, we empty it and fill it back up because it gets dirty. There's sand in it, If you haven't been to the dog park and you want to watch all the little dogs and the big dogs jump in the pool and having fun, especially when it's hot out, why not?
We've kind of heard this list.
Okay.
We're supposed to limit you to 3 minutes, but.
Oh,
please,
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, well, anyway, so the short hose is just something that I'm like, really, because we've created more of a mess than what was there before. So we've made a situation worse than making it better. So I'd like to, that would be certainly, some things. I did have a little list of, things that I'd like to see improved in the dog park, but I guess that would be a different time. We're not handicapped accessible. It'd be great to see a handicapped
talked about that.
accessible.
Yep.
A
That was brought up.
park that I used to live in Toma, and the park rec department took care of the park. And we had the same problem, and they came in and put a slab of cement. The entryway was a slab of cement that they put in so the wheelchairs could come in. And then they put a slab into the park, so people on wheelchairs could at least come in and watch the dogs.
That was requested, yeah.
And that was done by the park rec
That was
department
requested.
there and stuff.
So we're gonna have to move on. 'Cause we
Okay,
have a lot of
sorry.
Stuff to cover.
All right,
Honestly, 6 of your fellow dog
I-
people,
I-
honestly, covered what you're.
I do wanna make a comment. I'm a citizen member on this committee. I very much appreciate everyone's participation today. I strongly suggest that you think about establishing yourself as a citizens dog park group. I think it would be a good follow-up for you to give us one letter to the village board and to the Parks Department with your list of improvements. I think you're right. Nothing that you've asked for is really extraordinary. There might have to be some compromises. There's no reason we can't grade that driveway and pat down the park. I mean, nothing you ask for is unreasonable.
Right.
And I'm sure Eric and his team probably do a better job at this than we appreciate, but I heard you. I think we all heard you. But if you could follow up with a little, and maybe even establish a volunteer group that we could authorize to do some of these things. I didn't come out and help you. So I just want to thank you. Please don't think because we're moving on here that we didn't listen. It's not often that we get this large a group advocating for some part of the village's budget or the Parks Department, so it was very much appreciated.
Just like that. I just think. There could be people that volunteer, but a lot of them
Can't,
can't.
yeah, I get it, I get it.
So,
Yeah, I agree. The village has a responsibility.
okay.
I don't think you should have to pay for it. You already do it, your property taxes.
Right.
I think we should make it as nice and as safe as possible.
Yeah, that's the legal.
I doubt there's anybody here that feels differently, but thank you very much.
So who would the letter go to? Who would it
I would send it to the village board and to the Parks Committee.
Is that address?
Yeah, you can just go right online.
If you go online, just go to the village's website, there's it's a PO box in Sister Bay,
The only reason I
or you
suggest
can
that
email.
is because you can meet as a team. And if you can prioritize what you'd like to see done, that's helpful.
Thank you.
And just give us the list.
Yeah, everybody kind of said the same thing.
Yeah, but just prioritize them, because,
Right, for sure.
yeah. Thank you.
You.
So I know Eric would like to respond, and I'm not sure how the committee wants to handle this, if we'll go through it during his parks report.
So it is inappropriate to respond to public comment.
Yeah.
It's not about responding. I wanted to recognize, we had a volunteer group come out last week for the dog park. So I wanted to thank Northern Sky Theater for donating
Wow.
the mulch and to all the volunteers that came in to the dog park to help spread the mulch. So while we were on the topic, I was gonna recognize the group anyways. And then we had all the dog park conversation early on, so I figured I'd just share that.
That was nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Eric.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, anybody else in the audience or online? I'm not sure. Do we have anybody online? No? Anybody else in the audience? Any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your
All
time.
right, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
too.
Okay, so now I think we're gonna move on to 5A, discussion action items, Sister Bay Advancement Association contract review. Okay, I think everybody knows Abby and Eric.
Thank you for putting us on the agenda today for your continued partnership and support of SBAA. We have two proposed updates to the agreement. We would like to update the renewal language to make it an evergreen agreement. And updating the annual event list to reflect our current programming to include language addressing circumstances such as weather, public safety, and other events outside of SBAA's control.
Anybody, I have a few questions. Anybody, or Eric, or I'm sorry, Ben, how would you like to?
Well, just wanted to frame this just a little bit more. So each year, typically as part of either the July or August agenda, the Parks Committee does review the SBAA agreement. It has had some changes throughout the years, but generally this is a pretty minor change. We're talking just clarifying what actually is taking place. And then if we wanted to, as part of this agreement, have it be continuously renewing unless it would be proposed to have any changes. So just from a staff perspective, supportive of what's being proposed, and then really what the Parks Committee should be looking at if there's any other portions of the agreement that we would propose on our side that modified.
I have a couple questions. Anybody? Okay, so a couple questions. First of all, so you have to be out of the building by the end of the year, right? Okay, so any plans on where you want to go, where you think the visitor center is going to be?
We have reached out to the Village Hall Task Force to see what plans are laid for that space. We are looking at different office spaces, but really it's the visitor center that we have some concerns about and questions for you. Wondering if the old schoolhouse is possibly available for use.
Of course.
Or considering
Sure.
talking to whomever, okay.
Yeah.
About,
Yeah.
we like that, we love the old schoolhouse, the location is not most ideal to help walking visitors or, we just help so many more guests downtown. So we would love to be located downtown if there was anything
Yeah.
available. Also considering if maybe we could put a kiosk up somewhere, downtown, even possibly by the marina, there's a little utility building there. What is that?
Where?
It's in the middle of the grass.
To, just south of the boat rental kiosk. Kind of on that little hill in that park,
Oh,
like
okay.
adding on to that potentially for a kiosk.
I don't know, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
But
I'm
our-
just gonna jump in here and say,
Can I
I
just
really
continue
think we need to stick to the agenda item on here. I do think this is
But
something
it
we should address.
affects my point of view on our contribution to them.
We should have put that on the agenda for revenue.
Yeah, then we won't. So my suggestion would be that you want to stay with the 12%, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my suggestion would be to give them a flat amount to what they're getting with this year. They're currently getting $71,683 this year. If they get 12% next year, at the run rate for a room tax, they'll get about 5% more than $71,683. Because we're running up about 4 or 5%, something like that, depends. And I would say that instead of giving them giving them a contract for what their run rate is now, that we give them a guarantee, a flat to this current year of 71,683. And then we look to see what the need is, because if the need is us to do something in Village Hall, if the need is for us to do something out at the old schoolhouse, which, as Eric knows, is in desperate need from a landscaping standpoint, and a few other things, then we have funding for that. For both village properties.
I think, we should be thinking about a flat number year over year.
That's
Without
71,000.
without any built-in increases, because when I look at the parks budget as proposed right now. If I understand it right, we're up around 15% in this proposed budget.
Well, we aren't there yet, but
Okay, but I'm saying this is one of the items on it, it's a $71,000 item in it.
Right.
So my suggestion is that we keep it flat with last year.
but again, I'm saying it, because this is not what
Yeah,
I
I'm
want
disagreeing with this.
ever say. I would never
Yeah.
say, you're actually agreeing with me, because if they want a 12% increase. It's gonna be based on this year's room tax.
Yeah, I still don't, that room tax
Let
comes
me
back to the
explain.
citizens, I get it.
You know, so right now, room tax, we only have through the month of May, so all you can do is project out what the rest of the year is. But having seen it for 10 years.
Why should it be related to the room tax? Why don't we just set up a number that we have in the
Let
contract?
me just explain what the 12% is based on. It's based on what the room tax is. It doesn't have to be. When I first started running it, it was a flat amount. And it went up every year. It started at 60,000 and then it went up to 65 and 70. It can be anything. So a flat rate is fine, absolutely fine. But again, the reason I say it, and I'm saying this for their benefit, because this is not something I would ever say, that the number would be, a straight number, and not that I would ever say it, but it would be a flat number. Because I think that there's an opportunity to partner with this organization on something related to Village Hall. And possibly a small amount up at the old schoolhouse. So if we gave them rounded, again, this year is 71,683. If you give them 72,000, which is, $300 more than this year, or if it brought them down to 71,000. Then could be, not for sure, some wiggle room to do something if Village Hall is at all possible. The problem is no parking, but let's say, forget parking for the moment, is accessibility. That was why I was thinking that.
But I think something to to, Mike, how we ended up with that 12% of room tax. Where this, because this evolved over many years. From even before Luisa's involvement, I've seen this come to the board year over year, and it has been very smooth in the last several years.
Very, yeah.
But the 12% was because that the village board in the past had looked at it saying, okay, Sister Bay advancement is. How they perform is largely tied to that number. It's not entirely up to them because there's macroeconomic forces at play. But that's where it was, we're taking this money in because of tourism, so we're gonna allocate this money back out from tourism. That was the logic behind it, whether that's still the logic we wanna use, that's certainly a fair question, but at least to let you know how we got here.
And the other is that we've always aimed for share, always. That was our goal. Our goal was to maintain share. We've gained share every year for the last 12 years. And we're gaining share again. You're up 0.6 of a point on a year-to-date basis for share. And that's all that should matter. Dollars are dollars, and the dollars are gonna still go up because the room rates are up. We're the highest room rate in the county for the month of May, which is ridiculous, by the way. But we are. There was a time we were the lowest. So, I mean, you can't necessarily look at dollars. You have to look at occupancy. You have to look at people, but we're still maintaining share. And that's so meaning that whoever's coming to Door County, we're getting our share, at least our share, what we had last year or more. And that's part of the job. So part of the job.
What you're proposing is we put for this year and next year, it's just a flat number.
Yeah, I would say honestly, I think it's in your best interest to negotiate it every year. I would because I do think there's an opportunity, as I said, for, an asset we have in the village to be used for other things, and we don't, right now, we don't have a lot of funding for a village hall. So, maybe we could work together, I don't know. But yes, I would say that it's either 71 or 72,000 for the SBAA for next year.
And it's always been a little lagging 1 year.
That's just
You
how-
never have the room tax numbers. There's no way we're gonna have the room tax numbers for 2026 to set this in the budget.
We won't have that till January.
Yeah, I'm just explaining getting out to the logic of why it's
Right.
a lagging indicator on there.
I mean, it's August and we only have May numbers. We won't get July numbers for 2 weeks. Sorry, we won't get June numbers for 2 weeks. For room tax.
I understand what you're saying, Louise, that to try and give us some ability to make another judgment next year, give us some wiggle room so we can do something.
So is your point, you'd rather see it just renew automatically?
I mean, I think back to 2017, 2018. Yeah, I would much rather see it renew automatically rather than go through the contortions that the village board and the Parks Committee went through back then.
Well, I was here in 17, so I remember that.
Yeah,
But I don't mind if it renews every year because we still have the ability to go back and say, hey, we wanna. And we could or could not, who knows, as could the SBAA.
well, what does that mean? Like, obviously, we cannot agree to something in perpetuity. We can say this is gonna automatically renew, but we can still step out there and say, we wanna change this.
Prior to having this be formally approved, it'd go through legal review, and something I could already see is just having some type of language about, 30-day notice, prior to. Not necessarily the termination language that's in there, but something very similar stating, 30-day notice to review, and that initiates the process for, having it be, executed for any changes, but, I guess that's a separate issue that we probably want to just put it.
So you're talking about section 1.1 renewal,
Yep.
1.2?
Yeah, 1.2 is the renewal
the
section.
time in there, forget the termination for the moment, but the renewal thing?
Yep, just essentially as part of it, essentially, there should be a little bit more language
Yeah, you're
about
right.
the specific process that would be
Yeah.
there, and that probably would be something that would come up as part of legal review, but we could be preemptive if we're considering any language, perhaps a, 30-day window, where it'd be providing notice to the other party.
Okay.
I mean, as of right now, we'd actually
Yeah.
have to terminate it to renegotiate it. Is that how that would effectively be?
Well, essentially, the language doesn't specify, which isn't always a great thing as part of the agreement, so we probably just want to specify that language. Otherwise, we'd have to ask Randy, but I mean, if we're notifying them of the request, like essentially, it could be anything, either party could do so.
Well, and them, and they as well. So I think we could add language that states 30 days, 60 days, whatever the. 60 days I think seems more reasonable, but you could add language.
The way this is written, I thought it was their red line copy.
This is their red line.
And the language before their red line was the agreement shall renew, but may be
Annually
here
renew,
too.
right?
No, it doesn't say annual renew. The black letters are the letters that were in the previous,
Look at
and
the
then the
ones
red
that-
is the change.
Strike through.
The red, it was either strike through or added.
It's annual.
So this agreement shall not automatically renew and shall not automatically renew, but may be. I'm not sure which is the change. I'm assuming the red was added and the scratched out red was deleted. Is that
So
correct?
anything that was struck was existing, anything red is new language.
Except annually. Annually should be in black type.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think annually would, I think it's,
No, and that's an ad, right?
Yeah, that was added.
Yeah.
Previously, it said, it stated, this agreement shall not automatically renew, but may be renewed upon the mutual agreement of the parties hereto.
I don't have an opinion on whether we automatically renew or not. I would suggest that we need to keep the fee fixed and that they can come and negotiate with us every year, but it's fixed for the agreement.
The other part about having that be 12%, like, is if that number goes down.
Yeah, I get it.
That's why we did it, yeah.
I get it, but I think they had enough value to where we wouldn't want them necessarily closing up shop just because the number goes down. And how likely is it of it going down? We'd need a significant recession likely. Or our rates get so high that people start going other places, right?
Okay, so.
Okay, we should probably keep this moving here.
So
But some direction for Ben,
I'd say 60-day notice on renewal, and then let's change termination to 120 days till we've got. I mean, that 60 days on government time, that's 2 meetings.
so this agreement shall.
Ben, am I right? That's kind of the.
Annually renew, that's what you want? But what, so annually renew, but each party has 120 days, 60 to 120 days to let the other party know, hey, we wanna
I'm saying
sit down and talk to you again.
60 for renewal, but for termination, extend that out to 120 days, because if we're.
Oh, under the termination part, so,
Yeah.
but renewal, it's,
Yes, no, I think that sounds fine as part of it. Essentially, it's just about providing the other party with notice
Notice,
of
yeah.
intent
Okay.
to change.
okay,
The renegotiation could realistically take however long it does take, but I would just say that we want to have that be a realistic timeframe, which, 60 days prior to the agreement renewal period, which would
Right.
be identified. And then, extending it 120 days for the written notice for the termination. I don't have any issues with that as well.
Does that make sense to you guys?
And-
so there, let's talk about the regroup, renewal, period. So they're typically, they would come, I think it's usually August, I think we're about where we usually did it, right?
Yeah, we tried for July.
Right, I know, but it was
Yeah.
nuts, but normally it would be in August, we could say July or August, whatever we wanna do, but if we do it. If it's annual, are we going August to August or what, and do we have to put that in there?
Yeah, I probably have a specific date that we'd be aiming for,
So we
otherwise.
will have a specific date or what?
So as part of it, I'd have to work with legal counsel on what the best practices are, but if we're looking at what the intent is to have a 60-day period. Where would be either party could notify to the date that it would have been renewed.
So
again,
wouldn't you just, whatever date this contract gets signed on, that's the peg date next year?
Well,
So
that's good.
60 days before it or 120 days after it?
Yeah, I mean, around that time, again, it's, I'm not legal counsel, I wanna go with them to determine what that language would look
Yeah,
like.
probably a
but
good idea.
Generally, when we're talking about it, that's the.
Cause it goes through the date of signing, till the end of December 2027.
Right, but if we're also talking about an evergreen agreement, we have to have something to work off of
Right.
each year.
Okay. So I guess it goes to Randy.
Yep, goes to Randy, we have a 60-day period for renewal, we can determine what specific period that is. And then it just would be changing the language from 90 to 100 days, and just wanted to confirm prior to ending this agenda item, but are we changing anything in terms of the direct annual contribution from the 12% based on room tax versus the flat fee?
We're going to a flat fee. Right, I'm sorry. Mike?
I would say that because here's my guess, right? I think one, I do have in the bank my first review of the parks budget, and maybe I'm missing something, but I don't want to get. Second, 12% can yield an increase way above the rate of inflation. It could be the highest rate of increase of any spending that we do in the village if that 12%.
It could get a 4%, it could be 4% over what we're giving them now.
Right.
Mhm.
It could be higher.
Maybe.
And just to reiterate a part of it, could you just restate what you're looking at in terms of what the proposed fee would be?
What line item is it in the budget? On
So
what
what is the
page do you recall?
contribution that you're proposing to put it into place? I just wanted to confirm the value.
I'll look in the budget.
Well, if it's flat to this year, as I said, was $71,683. $71,683.
Correct.
Glad has that, and you have that.
But I'm stating in terms of this agreement, we'd be having it for the proposed.
Right, so if we're talking about having it be flat to what we're doing now,
Mhm.
it would be $71,683.
I thought you mentioned 73, if it's not fine.
If I did, I misspoke.
Okay.
What I said was we could round up 72 or round down to 70.
Okay.
And you're right, it's in the budget. When I went through, I thought I saw 70, not 71. Mike, but maybe,
Yeah, I'm sorry, library, is it under culture and organizations?
it could be, yeah, it's towards the
No.
back.
Let's see. SBAA,
Correct.
right? Okay, let me look at the total line. So are all the, so S. it's-
There's two things in there for SBAA, what we charge the SBAA for parks to do. So that could be Fall Fest and a few other things, right? And then there is, I don't know, then there is the agreement. The agreement comes, I thought came out of the general
This,
fund. but-
there's a line called support
Yep,
that in 22 was 32,000.
Yep.
In 23 was 57,000,
mhm,
in 24 was 64,000.
mhm.
In 25 it was 68,000, and this year the budget is 70,000. And I would propose that we cap 27 at 70,000.
Yeah, and that this year number was 2026.
This year's number is 2026,
It's
70,000.
Right, it's incorrect. That number is actually 71,683.
How would we know that?
Because we have a contract with them that said that, and verification in the email between Ellie and Vlad, that's what we were giving them.
Okay, so 71, what was it?
$71,683. We verify with them once the numbers come out from DCTC in December. So on March 19th of 2026, from Vlad to Ellie, he verified and agreed with her that calculating 12% of this, of the $597,355.74 that the village got in room tax, that 12% came to 71,682.
Okay.
So that number in there is wrong. So if it's flat to this year, it won't be 70. Well, if 27 is flat to 26, it'll be 71,682.
How often do we pay them? Because it looks like after 6 months, we've only paid them $17,961.
We pay them quarterly, but that we wait until we get information from them. So we need their P and Ls, which take a little time for their accountant to get. So we need quarterly P and Ls. Once we get those, we pay them.
Okay, thank you.
So, Nate, are you good with the flat amount of what we're paying this year, or forget what's in the current budget for parks for the moment, but
I'm fine with that. I mean, it's not appreciably changing it, but I
no,
understand.
it's not. I mean, just for the sake of having it be an even number, can we just go to 72?
I don't have a problem with that.
71,682.
I don't have a problem with that.
Nate, would you make a motion, please?
You want to make a motion to recommend this pending legal review to the village board with a fixed fee of $72,000.
In support. Yes, we did, right?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. One thing, I know but we also need to send an updated contract back to the SBA. So you guys can see it, so we may need to, before this goes to the board, so Ben, before this goes to the board, we may need to come back here, right? I don't know.
Well, if they have any, if you guys have any issues with what's being proposed, it will come back, but as part of it, we would essentially have recommendations included, we would coordinate with them to make sure that both parties agree, and then it would move forward to the village board for consideration.
So probably won't go to the board until September, Nate?
Probably, and I guess what I would say is if there's a material change that you guys are looking for based on what
Right,
Randy had said, then it needs to come back here. If it's something
Then bring it-
Randy did, then
then
it
bring
would
it
just go to
here.
the board. So
Okay.
it may or may not make it back here.
okay, otherwise, then it goes to the board and, okay? Okay. Thanks. Nice job on keep chair. I think it looks great inside. I know we're not allowed to talk about it. But, I'm not sure where your offices are gonna be, but. It's tough, yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right, sorry about that. Let's move on. Sorry, where am I? Where's my?
seems like every year Brian comes in and has contentious stuff before him, so he gets delayed for his
Well, I
presentation.
imagine if you were the lion. Okay. B, village facility rental agreement, Door County Century Bike Ride. Brian.
Well, yeah, here representing the Door County Century, and I'm not sure
Thank you.
where to start with this. The request shows what was done in the past, both 24 and 25. And in the last week and a half, I checked in with the sheriff's department, Brad Shortby. I've talked to the officers that have worked intersections, the highway. Originally, it was looking at it going, all right, I think there's a safer way to do this, and I get the appeal of, having a rest stop at Waterfront Park. However, I've always questioned, coming down the hill, left in, and, the way it wraps down and gets to Waterfront Park. We're looking at different options of ingress, egress with safety in mind and still having, the riders, their experience that matters, and then input feedback from the village. And looking at it closer and talking to people, and I apologize if this is last minute. It was more in the last week here, kind of coming and looking at different options, going, all right, well, they're crossing the highway in 3 spots on 57, which I think from a safety perspective, I don't care for that. I think the Flint Ridge crossing is a dangerous one. And we're looking at different options, not knowing what roads are under construction and what our final routes are even gonna look like right now. And looking at all that, kind of trying to come up with a way into Waterfront Park that makes sense. And originally it was, this is the scenario that has been approved. And, Brad Shortby was comfortable with it, but when I talked to him, he said, I think there's yes, if you were to have perhaps on Mill Road, just in and out. The audible here is in looking at it closer and thinking, you know, the experience of these bikers, they're coming in, they're there on average 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They're having, there's a nonprofit serving food there, it's the Short Cape. And really with looking at it, going, okay, I don't know if it's worth the risk of bringing in for that short period of time when we could simply have something on Woodcrest on the route. And so I guess the ask, and this is the audible, I'm realizing you know, it's different from what's here, is the map shows the Lagerquist property and the green space there, and thinking the riders would simply be heading north, it's right there. We do easy up tents, you know, just a little ways in, there's green space for the bikes, then they head north. And so it's bypassing kind of the heart, and I don't think it takes away from the experience of the riders. And if anything, it gives something that's cleaner. And from a rider's perspective, I feel like it's a good option. But once again, I apologize that this is, you know, kind of an audible here. But after talking to Brett, you know, really looking at it, going much more comfortable with it. Then we can have, you know, it's just 2 crossings, you can eliminate the point. I don't know, you know, riding the trail or the bike path, you know, some riders choose, yeah, they were on it, but others weren't. It's still that left, you know, coming in. And that's the part that, you know, really made me think, okay, even this morning, just having follow-up conversations with officers that have worked the event, and feeling like this gives a safer option for a rest stop.
So is this one 10x10 or a 10x20
It would
or?
be, well, the equivalent, like in the past, they do a 20x30 for
20 by
the
30,
expo,
okay.
but we can just use 10x10s. I mean, we
Well,
got this.
it is, you know what it is,
Yeah,
and then,
it's just a nice green, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a beautiful location, it's
so,
right
well,
there.
you know, Nate's the rider, so.
Yeah,
I've stopped there a handful of times, and the only thing that I don't love about it is the gravel on there, but it's so well packed.
oh, you're talking,
Lager,
Lot of
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
yeah.
And that's pretty tightly packed,
How many bikes?
So for this, it's only the 100-mile riders that are coming north,
Okay.
and so, I mean, but it's, you know, over a period from 9:30 or 9 AM to
Okay.
12:30, it's 2,000 riders. You know, so it's a lot
In
of
the
riders coming through. This,
In the 100?
what's that?
In the 100?
2,000.
In the 100?
Did you say 2,000?
Yeah, that would be coming through, yes, and that's what historically has come through.
And those are the ones in the. that are-
And that's why I look at the highway and the whole and talking to the
Okay,
sheriff's.
yeah,
department.
it's probably
Yeah,
better out
it's-
here.
So Brian, just let me ask a question. So we have always had 2,000 riders approximately.
Yeah, for the last.
You are proposing that we move this off of Bay Shore based on your conversations with the sheriff's department people that
Yeah,
typically
and-
manages,
yeah.
and it's your collaborative belief that the Lager Quest route would be safer because it allows you to reduce intersection crossings.
Correct.
So it just seems to make perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and that's why to me, it falls in kind of, for a rest stop. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That. For the bike ride for the fall challenge, however, the experience is different. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
lunch, it's the.
Well, they
you know,
stay
they're
there,
getting
it's fine.
out, they're getting out early and we're bringing them back in one way. But when you look at through, you know, intermittent riders coming in via the highway and a left-hand turn. And, you know, the officer that's worked in the past, I mean, he is a bike rider. He rides, you know, the county roads all the time. He just said, yeah, it's sketchy. You got people passing, you know, even when he's stopping traffic. It's a tricky
Are
intersection.
you
And
gonna have, will you have reserves out here?
well, there would be no need. I mean, it's on the.
I'm just asking, so there's no.
Yeah,
reserve.
I mean, there's
Okay.
no need for law enforcement. We eliminate the Flint Bridge, you know, crossing on the highway over to.
So they're gonna go north and there's a stop sign there.
And then, so
Okay.
then the route, it doesn't deviate, but it just changes, you know, a couple hotspots in a big
Right.
way.
There's no water out there, you know that?
Yeah, and not needed, and bathrooms, there'd be, you know, porta potties brought in and taken out, so. Yeah, it really has nice space. I was asking, there's no sprinkler.
There's no, yeah,
There's
no
no-
irrigation, no power, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Okay, do I have a
I guess
motion?
one thing you kind of hit me way off guard with, Ryan, is it's back to 2,000 riders, because I know that I've had conversations with Dave and Miles, and I'm sure that they said it was 1,000 riders or less in this,
Oh, that's the fall challenges.
okay.
Yeah, fall challenges is 700, 800. Door County Century, and I checked on all before getting involved with this. Finding out from the DNR, their thoughts, safety concerns, every municipality, that ride is capped at 3,000. So it's a big ride. A majority are doing the 100.
Okay, so
but
you're
they're not
talking,
coming, yeah.
you're
so-
talking about the big one, I guess.
Yeah, so this,
That's where I'm getting confused. I
yeah,
was
yeah.
supposed to
so
be
this
there.
is the 13th.
No, this is
Yeah,
not the
this
one
is-
in the park.
And that's why,
Not one.
yeah.
No, not the one in the
That's
park, I'm
it.
saying the one, yeah.
Yeah, so this
Um,
is just, it's just an aid station, a rest stop, and that's why the risk reward, being there for 20 minutes, the riders 10 minutes to get it's a popular rest stop. But it's not gonna take away from the experience, but to me, it's better for the town, it's better for the riders, for it not to come in the way it does. And simply to have it go north, right on Woodcrest, and have a rest stop
Okay.
right there, I look at.
Okay, do you have a
So
motion?
either it's either we approve this, otherwise it stands as is, I mean.
Yeah, and I'd rather, there is an option perhaps, further up the, some private property, to do like where we do that mess walk and have some rest stops. I think it's, with that space, it's beautiful, it
Yeah,
helps the ride, so.
I gotta wanna say one thing on the record, and this isn't gonna shock you, Ryan, I do not like this ride. I think this ride is bad for the community, and it certainly brings out a lot of hostility towards people on the road that are there. 360
Now,
some days a
now
year.
you just don't have to go out to Lagerquist that day.
I'm getting that on the record, Luis. So that's not a shock to me. I guess I just misunderstood which one it is, but at the same point, it's a lot better to have it here than it is to have it down there, because you're gonna piss a few less people off.
Yeah.
A lot less, yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it's a nice day. Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, I have one more question and it's for us. Thanks for doing this. I think you have your head and your heart in the right spot here, and it was great that you engaged with the sheriff's department. As a rest stop, you can bring in potable water, right? So they can bring in potable water. And do we allow them, if needed, to have a generator if they need to run a first aid station or anything else?
We wouldn't need to, if we
And
had a
there's-
checker, typically for all our rides, we don't.
Okay, but there's nothing wrong with that if they do, is there? There's
Not that I'm
no,
aware of. You
yeah.
okay with the generator out there?
okay,
Perfectly fine.
Yeah,
okay.
there's no power.
So I'd make the motion, but I'm not exactly sure how to word it.
I can make the motion. So I'll move to, have the Door County Century Bike Ride on September 11th, the way station or, rest station. The Door County Century Bike Ride on September 11th through 13th at Lagerquist Farm.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say, I have a question, can I have a copy of
Sure.
that, and that is the most recent then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So I just wrote Lagerquist and I wrote the size, the date and the event.
I'll copy to you, thank you.
Okay, up next is. Five, so I have a question for Rachel Carr's sake. She is after our budget review and I can't switch her around right now, can I?
I believe in our, does it say in our blurb here that deviation from the agenda?
We can, it just would be, excuse me, suspending the rules essentially as part of it. So you'd
Would
make a
anyone
motion to suspend.
Mind
the
if
rules.
Rachel just goes through hers quickly?
I'm okay. Do we have to make a motion for that?
So yeah, you'd make a motion to suspend the rules and then it would be having a roll call vote. And then essentially you'd be making a motion to change or rearrange the agenda or move agenda item, further up.
Okay, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye, I'd like to make a motion.
Bell, yes.
Oh, sorry.
pardon me.
Bell, yes.
Blaskowitz, yes.
Housen, yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Do you have your acronyms with you today?
I did not make a copy for you, I did.
Okay, so I would like to make another motion, right?
Yep, so the
Okay.
motion passed and then you can move the.
I'd like to make a motion to rearrange the agenda and switch 5E like Edward with 5D like David and put sports complex facility reservation up next. I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Don't we have to go House and et cetera?
No, not for this, that's
Just for suspending the rule, would be the roll call.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, Rachel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, so when I was here last, we agreed to, partner on the pickleball tennis courts and the sports complex so that Northern Door Sports and Rec could bring on online reservations to pay and reserve for sports facilities. When I started to go through the policy online and kind of sync up the fee schedules and all of that, it raised some questions that I spoke with Ben and Sarah on, which just kind of led to some more policy related questions that we felt back in June would be most appropriate to bring to the Parks Committee to really sort of clarify, finalize a policy, more or less for the entire sports complex and not just generalize the pickleball policy, which I know was the focus of most of the conversations back in February. And so what I have done is I put together a proposed sports complex, entire complex facility reservation policy, which would include the tennis and pickleball courts, as well as the soccer fields and the baseball fields, and really just encompass any type of site that is located at the property that can be reserved. The specific, if you look at the policy, the specific breakdown of sites under the fee schedule is where you would differentiate what someone would be looking to reserve. And so that is really more so how much they pay, what the time limits are, whether it's an hour, a day, a half day, those types of parameters. Then there's also obviously part of that includes the ability for club reservations, so dedicated season play. And so that is also sort of called out in this policy. When I did take a look at the original policy, it does refer to a specific or a dedicated pickleball tennis reservation form, and that does not currently exist. So that form that is in the current policy is not a document as of right now.
Do we need it with your new process?
Well, we would need like a workflow for people to be able to,
Okay.
yes, and so that's kind of what, if you take a look at the second document that I had included.
Yeah.
I did put together that document. Sort of in a paper format, which can also be migrated right to an online format. And so that is that flow is now complete in terms of a dedicated pickleball tennis reservation form. However, it is more broad. So the soccer club could fill the same form out, the baseball teams could fill the same form out. It's more generic.
Good.
Which I think would best serve
It's better. Yeah.
for ease of accounting and all that.
So Louise, if I remember, please correct me if I'm wrong. We were interested in this initially, but I think the reason we narrowed the scope at the time is because we wanted to see if it would work for us and see if it would work for Rachel.
As a test, right?
So now Rachel's worked directly with Ben and come up with a more comprehensive program, basically covering all of the facilities. That's the difference.
Agreed on all the facilities.
We did.
So the this
So-
is very specific to the sports complex, which includes all of the sites.
Oh, yeah, the other sites were outside the,
Doesn't.
okay, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
Village Hall, it's not, other places.
So what are we at? Just help me.
So once I
What's
started
different?
peeling back the layers,
Yeah,
I think there has just been a lot of talk about very specific things related to the sports complex, and there's never really been a very broad sort of usage review of all the sites located at the complex and how you can more generalize the policy, the workflow for reserving, the workflow for requesting seasonal play. And so my hope was that in putting this together, it would help the village, and then in turn it would help me
yeah,
then
efficient.
better define, like we had talked about parameters and all those things. I will say, and I will say, even putting together this policy, if you look at things like walk-up play, I know Mike, we had talked a lot about first come, first serve.
Mhm.
I mean, the policy very much supports
first come, first serve. And then, you know, if you show up late for reserved time, someone could be playing until you literally show them that you can be there. You have to get off the court as soon as your reserve time is up, if someone is waiting. It definitely, I think, and that refers to soccer fields, baseball fields, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But I think that's the benefit of spending the time to do this.
Thank you.
And so really what I need the committee to do is review the policy, maybe compare it to the current policy. I mean, it's very much similar in terms of, you know, a lot of the scope. It's a broader scope, but all the pickleball stuff. And then look at the fee schedule, because the other thing that, again, things that I sort of just discovered through the process of this is on the current fee schedule. For example, the pickleball courts have a $20 fee for 2 hours. The ball fields have a $50 fee, but there's no defined duration for that. So on my end, I can't put that in, assuming maybe it's a day, but I don't know, is it an hour, is it 2 hours, is it 4 hours?
Yeah.
So those are the types of things, and if you take a look at the fee schedule I have in this draft.
Yeah.
It's very specific to the hourly rate, and then what type of time slots are available for someone to actually book.
Mhm.
So you can have a full day rate, you know, and then you can drop the hourly based on, generally speaking, if the ice rink building is only available for 8-hour time slots, will you limit it that way?
Right. Oh,
So
like
you make the hourly adjustment.
Okay.
So I would like the committee to review that.
Right.
And then the only other thing on my end right now is that there is another document called the Facility Rental Fees for Nonprofit Organizations Policy. And my only question there is, it refers to the idea that for like soccer, it's like the kids' summer soccer league pays $50 for their whole season, because that is the fee schedule that I'm assuming is for a day for the soccer field. Is that applied to the pickleball? Do they pay $20 for their whole year?
Let me quick bring it up. From what I recall on that policy, it's more about renting village facilities, but let me just see how it's exactly worded.
Okay.
So facility rental. So the way that we define it would be, you know, an eligible, Door County-based nonprofit organization pays an annual use fee equal to 1 published daily rate for the facility that they use. We're defining facility, seeing if we defined it that far. I mean, generally what the intent would be is if we're talking about, you know, renting the fire station, renting the, you know, village hall, renting anything that would be considered a village facility. And that would be the rate that's there, and I'm just checking the fee schedule to see how that aligns here. So general, when we're talking about it, like, I guess, what is your exact concern? So just whether or not they could use like the ball field for a nonprofit?
I just am asking whether this policy refers to the sports complex, and if it does, do you differentiate the pickleball club from the youth leagues? Cause I know the youth leagues I know baseball and soccer pay $50, which I can look back at this and assume that the fee schedule for the soccer field for one day is $50. But does pickleball then only pay $20 for their whole season, or do they pay?
No, that's essentially, they have to get approval as part of it, so we have an approved list that we would send you in terms of like an administration of that specifically, is that we
So
would.
it could be, okay, got it.
It's more so think of, you know, like a more community-based organization renting facilities that are probably outside of the scope of what our
Okay.
agreement would be at this time.
Okay, that's helpful, because I think if we move forward with like the reservation application for the sports complex, it almost should be like during the approval process, the fee is assigned in a way. Like, once you know for certain that it's an approved nonprofit
Mhm.
club or group or whatever, they want whatever facility they want reoccurring for the season, then the rate is approved. Or I don't know, I guess that's an open question to the committee.
Wouldn't that be when we do our fee schedules annually? By category?
So when we're talking about it, we have what it is defined, so as part of this, it's defining what those are. But we're really, when we're talking about the nonprofit side of things. It hasn't practically come up, it doesn't define facilities, but for the most part, it's like the knitters, the other folks. I don't necessarily think that it practically reaches the scope. What we're talking about
Okay.
for the sport complex.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever had, do you remember any big discussions about nonprofits at the sports complex?
No, everything has been more general and actually.
Been here, or maybe
Village Hall.
Oh,
Because I mean, the way that we define rental facilities as part of our fee schedule is that it does include some items for the sports complex, but I wouldn't set it up, but we could set it up later if it became an issue where a nonprofit wanted to use the facility for some type of nonprofit use, which I can't necessarily think of right now.
So isn't it fair if we make a motion and approve this so that Rachel can move forward? That we also have an understanding that this is probably gonna identify, Rachel, gaps that we didn't think about at this point in time, that we're just.
I like solving for gaps, I like this.
I love the fact you do and that you're on it proactively, but no matter how good you're at it, we
Sure.
might miss one.
No, understood.
And I think as long as you're collaborating with Ben, and he can bring it back to Parks or the board, we're probably good.
Yeah, I mean, as
Okay.
part of this, it's the understanding that this would be the new policy would replace what we're talking about for the sports complex pickleball policy, which again, there's not an overarching policy that we had. It just was specifically targeted for pickleball, and that, we'd be implementing it. It's not something that we couldn't revisit in the future. But this would be kind of what would be proposed so that we could align what our policy is with what the software that is currently being utilized.
are you clear with that, Rachel, on moving forward?
So it sounds like you guys are okay with this as the policy moving forward, if I follow up with Ben. And I just need to know very specifically if this fee schedule per hour is appropriate. So for example, the soccer field at $20 per hour, assuming that someone generally will reserve it for a 2-hour time slot, is $40. Right now, it's $50 with no duration at all.
Right.
So would the Parks Committee be okay setting that parameter for that particular one and for the baseball diamond? I guess that would be the same. And then the picnic shelter is the pavilion, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that one is $150 per day. So I have it here at $25 an hour with an 8-hour, with a 2-hour, a 4-hour, and an 8-hour.
You have it at $20 an hour.
Oh, $20, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that would be another question. I guess it needs
That
to
would
go
need
up
to
to
change.
8 hours.
Yeah, that would
Full
need to
day.
change.
And then the ice rink building is $75 per day. So I think that one I have too high. That's what I kind of need to like know.
Yeah,
for
we need to
certain.
massage those because the baseball diamond too, and maybe the soccer field, but, and for sure the picnic shelter
So
needs to be higher.
do they need to be massaged because we already approved the schedule? Okay, so she has to
Yes.
kind of match that.
Yeah.
But it's only gonna match for
Which
the
is
full
what she
day.
needs
Can
to
they
do.
charge less? I mean, like what she's proposing here is if you're using it less than a full day,
Sure.
you actually can rent it for less.
It's the interpretation of what is currently there. So because the frequency, we don't have a listed frequency like it does for
Yeah.
the online platform.
It's a flat fee.
This is the interpretation of that based on the increments.
And an easy way to do this would be like to confirm that $50 for the ball fields and the soccer fields equals an 8-hour day, assuming that a day is defined as 8 hours. So then the ice rink is $75 for 8 hours. And the ball fields are $50 for 8 hours. And that the pavilion per day is assumed to also be $150 for 8 hours. If you would wanna just define it that way, then I can go in and do it all.
So I'm good with this, but I am opposed to making a motion on this as parks. Because that's not, if we're gonna do that, it should be a recommendation to the board, it should go all the way through, because we're changing something monetary.
But you're interpreting it correctly, yes, when we did those fees. We were not talking hourly, that's a one-time fee, you got it. Like the ice
So, like,
rink, it's all yours, you stay 4 hours, you stay 8
hours.
hours, it's still the same price. Pardon me?
Assuming a day is like a 9 to 5.
Whatever it is, right,
Okay,
same with the picnic shelter, the pavilion,
cause then I don't think the fees have to change.
it's whether
It's
or
just
not.
the
It's
interpretation.
whether or not we make them incremental, it's whether or not we make them
Correct.
available.
And you don't have to make them incremental, you can just
The
say,
shelter could be tricky.
you can just say that the day is the day. I just wanna know for certain.
So let me get this
Because
straight.
people will move in there like for the weekend, you know,
So what you're suggesting is that, and it sounds like this committee likes what you've done and wants to support it, but because it requires approval at the board level of a fee schedule,
Yeah.
we should recommend this to the board for review and approval.
I would say there's two ways we can go. We could say that. I would think we could say there's consensus and say this is interpretation and say, yes, staff, we support you with this. Or we could take it to the board. I think the consensus makes more sense, so that.
I would agree. The only reason I would say we're really just trying to interpret because the way that we have our units is days, the whole part of it. Is that, yes, it's set at that fee, but we're just saying in terms of the specific platform that is being utilized breaks it up.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It just means that the one category Rachel needs to tweak, so the full day equals what our current
Yeah.
schedule is.
as a shelter, right? Right, you could do that,
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, so now what do we do next?
So I would just say the approval of, so again, if we're fine with just moving forward as part of this with the understanding that it's the interpretation of the fee schedule, not changing the fee schedule. It'd be a motion to approve, and then it would be replacing the existing sports complex pickleball policy.
Yeah.
So there is if the full language of kind of what the staff recommendation was laid out, which could be modified, but essentially on page 45. It would
Yeah, I
be
see it.
approving the sports complex facility reservation policy and the sports facility club rental reservation form as presented, replacing the existing sports complex pickleball policy. And then the end is just kind of a catch-all to authorize other indoor sports and recreation and village staff to proceed with implementing the policy within the online reservation system.
So moved.
I don't think you can make a motion.
I
but
can't.
okay. Whatever you said. That a motion. I'll second that.
Do you want me to read it? I can't.
It's up to you. We know what it is for the motion.
Yes, and so I'm making the motion.
Sarah, are you clear with what the motion is?
I'm sorry.
Are you clear with what the motion is here?
It is written down, huh?
Sarah is,
It's recorded.
she's recording it, so
Okay,
that's the-
I just wanna
our
make sure.
friend Claude will be very clear.
That's the motion I made. Louise seconded. Now, don't we have to vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay.
You're not voting aye,
I am not voting aye.
because you think it should be
I
consensus.
do not think this is practice. I'm fine with the intent of it. I just don't like how it's being. acted.
So what is it that you don't
Is it
like? I
come back
thought you were
and
okay
bite us?
with
Is that
this.
what you feel?
I think that anytime we have a committee making choices and making motions that have financial implications,
Well, I can see
Okay.
that.
I think it is troublesome. If we want to say that there was consensus, I'd be fine with that, but I'm voting nay on that. Not because I don't agree with
Well,
it.
then do we have a quorum?
You already have, you're 2-1.
Okay,
You're passed. It's-
Well, then in that case, I don't even think you guys are motioning anything. I think you're just helping me clarify what your current fee schedule is.
It's already happened, so.
Thank you for defending us, though.
I'm not-
Yeah, we're approving.
and
the
thanks for
policy.
explaining that, but I would have
Sure.
liked to have understood your concern a little better before I voted,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
And now Brian's gonna run away quick. That's
Thanks, Brian.
See you, Brian.
God. God bless Aaron and.
Okay.
and
Rachel,
for
thank you.
sticking around.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing a great
Thank
job.
you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay, we are now going to move to item what is now 5E, that is the 2027 Parks and Streets Budget Review.
We did just skip over the
We skipped something.
request for proposal evaluation.
That kind of minor thing. Okay, let's go through, C by Cat. Village Administration Building request for proposal, evaluation proposal, sorry. Important one.
All right, so at the last meeting, we did review the architecture and engineering proposals in response to the village's RFP, and total 15 proposals were submitted. The first committee identified 4 of the top firms, which was Birchbach and Associates, both companies, Somerville, and then Gold. And then we were, staff was directed to conduct an apples to apples comparison of the final proposals. So essentially that was outlined as part of the attachment here. It was also asked to provide a specific recommendation as part of this. Just based off of reviewing the information and looking at what the inclusions were, including how many in-house services were provided versus subcontracted services, and looking at what the total cost was, you know, generally providing a recommendation that Wold Architects and Engineers would be a good firm to potentially select as part of it, based off of the price and based off of the inclusions that were available. But with that being said, I can certainly answer any questions regarding any of the other firms and some of the items that were discussed within the comparison framework.
So my first question is for Nate. Nate, it's not unusual for most of these guys not to include IT, AV, security and all that stuff, right? Cause like pretty much nobody did. I knew Bolt wouldn't,
I mean,
but a lot of people did not. And what they include may not even be something that we like. I don't know.
yeah, so I kind of went down that rabbit hole a little bit. Figuring out what that looks like, you know, seeing what the options would be, and presuming that we wouldn't have a good IT. That it would not be included, so I thought that. Okay, these are architects, they do architecture well, they might do engineering well, but they may not do. The IT infrastructure well, I mean, maybe Wold can do it, so I thought, okay, what's the other alternative? If it's somebody that does not have that included, what can we do? And
Right, what do we do?
so I've got, there's, this would certainly have to go out to bid on its own if it's not included in there.
Okay,
But I know enough about low voltage wiring, but I'm not an expert. I do know an expert in low voltage wiring that could do it, and I reached out to them and said, okay, not asking you to do this. Could you walk us through exactly what we should do best practice on low voltage in this building?
Mhm.
And, you know, you've got an hourly rate on that, and you could certainly bid for it, but there'd be no guarantee you'd get the bid for it. And he thought that, yeah, he absolutely could do that. He did the wiring of the YMCA, so he's done big projects. Just not on his own.
is that what's needed for IT, AV and security?
I think that that's probably gonna be the best result we're gonna have, and I think about it in terms of what did we miss last time?
Okay.
And I mean, I know, Ben, that makes a little bit more work for us, but we also you can't even touch that until you've got drawings, because you don't have an idea of that, so.
It's like 3/4 of the way in a lot of projects.
Yeah, what I would say is, I would ballpark that we probably need to allocate about. Somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 on coming up with a plan for IT AV, somewhere in there, when the time is right, and.
B would only be 2 or 5, like.
Come up with a
say
plan for
5
it,
grand?
yeah, to come up with a plan for it, yes, I walked
Okay.
through that, I mean, you're looking at 20-30 hours.
And then who executes the plan?
Then we'd have to take that out to bid, so we'd have to come up with an RFP for that, we'd have to have them help us generate that RFP.
Well, that's whatever the firm that's selected, we're going through design through bidding. So whatever firm would be selected, they would help us with putting the items up to bid.
Well, that looked like what
Sure.
Wold would do right now. Wold says included by a technology security designer. So they would already have somebody they would use. I think they'd probably charge us more than, well, it's included, so.
Yeah, it's included, it's a buried cost, I mean,
Okay.
I was looking at it, seeing the other 3, to see what would be a viable option for there,
Yeah.
I mean, like Ben, yes, you'd come up with the RFP, and
Yeah, it'd be incorporated.
it'd be incorporated into there, and then you could do it.
So this, again, I don't really have a strong opinion. I like the fact that we're taking the lowest cost bidder, and I like the fact that that bidder seems to have the broadest scope of inclusion. So, and I think what you did here, Ben, in terms of this comparison is really helpful, right? This may be something we can include earlier on in the process in the future. It could become a good standard. What it makes me wonder though, is, in my experience, the furniture, the interior design, the landscaping, and the, IT, AV, all the networking infrastructure, those can be pretty big numbers. Somebody remind me again what the budget of this building is?
3.2 million,
And that's just because, why did we come up with the 3.2?
no idea.
So that was included as part of our CIP as part of it. So this one is included as just a straight design fee as part of it as well. So sometimes it depends on what we're talking about, whether or not it's a lump sum or it would be a percentage of the project. That can differ based off of which firm that we're working with as well. So this is just what we're talking about as a straight sum.
So it
I really
seems,
don't know that. I didn't mean to be glib. I don't even remember where the 3.
I respect
No,
that. I get it. So what I'm thinking, if that's what's in the CIP, right? We have to get the engineer and any GCs thinking about something 500,000 to 750,000 lower than that. For all the other stuff we're gonna have to add into this thing.
So we're talking holistically for the project of what we essentially allocated for it. When it's designed, we would have an estimate of probable cost from the.
I get it, Ben. But this is what we have to do. If we hire Wold, we have to tell them, look, this is what we have to spend on this building. Don't design us something that's over this.
Mhm.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
We can't ignore that. That's part of the requirement. So another lesson learned a little bit from the Parks building.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like when you're building your house. You don't give them an unlimited budget. You tell them, hey, this is the budget. If it's a nickel over, you're absorbing it because I don't have the money for it. And the issue is our budget of 3.2 includes all the IT infrastructure, it includes the landscaping, it includes the furniture and anything that we want to do on the inside of the building. So that, it's still a lot of money, but the only way that we get to the point where we bring this project in under the budget is to make crystal clear to everybody what the budget is, and they gotta stay below it.
So let me ask a question, because I really don't, I've never built anything ever. But, well, I did build my garden greenhouse. Sorry, I'm taking that back.
Did you stay on budget?
I did not. No, I asked for a pool and I asked for a patio. I got none of them. Anyway, but I'm wondering though, I'd like, if they are gonna. If we tell them, okay, forget 3.2, we wanna be at 3, okay, we wanna be at 3, and they're gonna outsource what we're talking about, right? So how does that work when when they've already told us, hey, this isn't included? So now we're relying on them to budget properly based on what their current bid is, and they know they have to layer other stuff in. I don't understand.
Right, if I take one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would just make clear as part of this process, these are the architects and the engineers. They're providing the owner, which is the village, with
Yeah.
plans, right? That are then picked up by the contractor.
Yeah.
They can design it in a way that they feel as though that they know what it would be bid out at,
Okay,
based off of how much labor, how much materials, typically at a 10% contingency. Have this as part of their fee for, engineering. If we tell them a set value, they would try to include that as part of the cost, but it's up to the contractor that's performing the construction work
I agree.
to maintain, just in terms of.
I agree completely, but it starts with the design.
I don't
That designer has to know, because he's gonna be working off a model that tells him how much these general contractors, how much it's gonna cost them. They're AI based, everybody can look at them. We need to set the expectations, and if 3.2 is the total cost, that's the total cost, so we can't miss a sewer lateral, we can't miss Wi-Fi networking costs, we can't miss stuff. Yeah, otherwise it'll be much more than 3.2 in a heartbeat.
So at minimum, we should be taking the 10% contingent off that, in my head. We should be taking $320,000 off the 3.2,
okay.
that set that as the target,
That would
otherwise.
be an
we're-
option.
Come in at $1.9 million.
That would be an option.
Well, they also, so as part of this, there was an opportunity that, I mean, we could have used our civil engineers as part of it. This one, it is included as part of it, so again, there could be like some additional costs that would have been incurred otherwise, that they're including, as part of their bid as well.
Well, Wolds has it, and their civil is in-house.
Yes.
Pardon me?
Wolds Civil Engineering is
Is in-
in-house, it's not, and I remember you saying something about maybe it wasn't so good to have it in-house, was you there?
No, I was worried if we had too many services outsourced, because
Okay.
those are all additional markups.
Okay, well, theirs are all
Like
in-house,
subcontract.
Right,
yeah,
it's
all, the others are, they're gonna sub it, okay.
So I mean, that's just an example of what we're talking about. I think
Okay.
they're probably in terms of the utilities and some of the other things in an area that wasn't quite as urbanized. I think a lot of those issues did happen, but with it already being an existing site, already being relatively urbanized. There's less to anticipate.
less risk.
But with that being said, it's still something to consider, we probably don't wanna have it be below the budget because we can as part of the building, is that we say, here's the parameters as part of it. What we're looking at in terms of size, what we're looking at in terms of budget, we want these services to be included. It's about the communication up front when they're designing it. And we include everything.
Perfectly said. I agree completely. Well said.
And as far as landscaping goes, I mean, not all these guys not a lot of people included it, but honestly, I think we have some really talented people locally. And I would be very confident in,
I would
not,
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
as part of it, we just wanna make sure that we have everything be restored at minimum, and then later on, if there's beautification.
Well,
so there's nothing there to restore.
well, in the
Well, they're gonna
GC
move a lot of
contract,
dirt.
They're gonna but I would like to see a landscaping plan and then, but there's a lot of, I mean, I can think of a couple people that we could talk to.
well, we're moving on.
Better than
I mean,
usual.
I
Okay.
think just looking at the cost.
Yeah.
The restore piece, I'm asking you, Ben. There's usually language to the GC as to what their requirements are, and it's fairly rough, like it's setting the rough grade. Anything above that, pouring flat work or, mulch beds and trees and flower, and that stuff is not typically ever included.
Yeah, not unless it's something that we include as part of the scope, but yeah, generally no, and generally what we're talking about is the bidding specifications, which they would help generate, whatever firm is selected.
I mean, like if it's trees, I'd rather give it to Bridenhagen. If it's landscaping, I'd rather, but I know we're way down the line. I got
Yeah,
it.
we got, I think
My number, Mike, 285.
as good as any.
That's fine. I mean, it would have been, if you held the 10% or a little bit more,
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, generally as part of it, I don't think any project is gonna be unscathed in terms of having change orders with some unexpecteds that occurred, and it's important to consider that there is gonna be some increases. Shouldn't be substantial, but there are things that change in terms of, things that can't be procured, random unexpecteds when you actually start digging.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
but I've been involved with a lot of projects. And the tougher we are on these guys and the more disciplined we are in holding them accountable, the closer they're gonna be to our number. That's all I'm saying. And if they think we have a loosey-goosey process that they have a chance to submit change orders that aren't properly approved, the first thing we have to do is when a change order comes in and it was not properly approved, we just say no. That's what's gotta happen. If we wanna keep this thing on budget.
I think the other thing that we need to say on our side is this approval only goes towards things directly, absolutely directly connected to this building.
Right.
Because in the past, there's been, well, we have this money allocated, now we can do all these other things with it, because it's generally connected. I think that that's something that we just need to be very clear on
Yeah.
what we say.
Well, Wold, and I keep going back because I do like them. They do have a web-based project portal, which could be. I mean, I think it's always good, but anyway, they are based in Illinois. They don't have Wisconsin offices, but the work they did like in Long Grove. And a few other places, they did beautifully, and Long Grove is. Like beloved, then they worked with their village hall. To try to you know, keep it in, because it needed some, anyway, they did some nice work.
I think we have consensus that we like Wold. I think the one thing that's really important that we really need to get in the nitty gritty of is the contract that comes from them, so that we can make sure we've got all the things that we can think of. Because contract details are gonna matter in this one.
So I
I
mean, as
agree.
part of this would be the recommendation for Wool to the village board, if it's something that we want the contract prior to, typically that occurs after, once it is awarded, and then we go back with the contract. But we could always take a look at to see if they could, if they have proposed contract language to be included for review when making the award, if you get what I'm saying.
I guess what you're saying, I mean, like, if, I would want to explicitly approve the contract, and I think that for a contract of, you know, $100 and some $1,000, we need to have the village board.
Well, typically, so I mean, as part of this, it would be the recommendation of the village board for the acceptance of the contractor, because it's in response to the RFP. And then typically following the acceptance of the proposal, then we move forward for the contract execution. And that's kind of the step 2 as part of it.
Okay, so then the contract, I think it's important, this, if the village board approves that, I think it's important that this body do the contract review, which is a little bit, may not always be the case, but I think in this case, you know, we've done more with this than the board has, so.
Are we still, remember we talked about maybe giving him 2 choices, are we just gonna give him 1 choice?
For the contract?
No,
Oh,
remember,
I'm sorry, you lost me.
we were, we whittled it down to 4.
Yeah,
And then we talked about sending the board 2, which I personally maybe think we just send them Wold. But do we want to send them our number 1? This is who we like, this is who we pick. And also then our number 2, which will be there'll be a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth. I'm just, because I think we talked about that, maybe we didn't, but I thought we did.
I think that we send them our number 1 and then we include the other 3, and these are the ones that made our short list, and then if
That's
the
fair.
village board wants to get into
Okay.
that and then let
That's
them.
fair.
Mike, you good with that?
I'm very good with that.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best suggestion.
Okay,
so just in terms of the contract language, so is it fine doing the 2-part process of accepting Wold and then essentially moving forward with requesting contract to come and then executing? That's so that it typically goes.
Yeah, so we're gonna approve, then we don't wanna start the contract negotiation until we know what.
Yep. Just wanted to confirm, that's the way it typically goes, so.
I guess I just wanted to say that, like, in this case, the contract, what's in the contract is,
Important.
yes, it's always important, but in this case, I think that's part of it that we have to own.
Yeah,
would we, when we send this to the board, because it was helpful for us, it might be a little bit easier for the board to digest. Send them this document, which is the, you know, side by side of everybody.
yeah.
And then also the backup, because you did include a link to the backup for these guys, which was helpful to, just for me to kind of refresh my. memory.
Yeah, just in case you need to.
Yeah, but we don't need to read, we just include this and then the link, just.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right, so you need a motion?
Well, Louise, this was, I think, your suggestion and it was great. And I think
Oh, I think
Ben,
Ben, but also,
you put it together
Came up
really well.
with,
It helped a lot.
yeah, we came up with all the things, we're like, wait, is he doing IT, is he doing, you know, AV and stuff? I know I'm the one that really wants interior design, I know you guys don't care,
I just
advocated for it.
There's the on.
I do, and they have a designer, an AID or whatever that is, so,
Well, we're gonna have this building for 100
Interior.
years, so
excuse me?
we're gonna have this building for 100 years, so we
Right,
might
and
as well
I
make
don't want a
sure.
whole lot, I don't want a lot of sailboats. Okay, we got, or sunsets.
I'm not gonna preclude that, I want to let the designer design this.
So just in terms of the question,
Or
I would
brown,
recommend
brown.
a formal motion of a recommendation for Wool to the village board.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Moving on, we are going to. Finally, in the right
Yeah, we're
order. We're going to 5D, which is 2027 Parks and Streets budget review.
So this is something that is evaluated each year by the Parks Committee, specifically for the parks and streets related budget. So it was and I apologize, the Century staff report was right after it, but Eric did put together a list of what the proposed reductions and additions are, similar to what was provided from previous years. And then there also was specific excerpts that were provided as part of the budget as well, that has outlined some of the areas where the changes would be as part of it. So you can refer to the number as part of it, but I'll turn it over to Eric to talk a little bit more about the proposed changes.
So starting on reductions, does anybody have any questions regarding reductions?
Can I ask you a question before you get going?
Absolutely.
On the first page, 27 in the packet, we highlight in yellow, Public Works, Culture and Recreation, and Development, correct? Are those the three accounts that we detail in the following deck that in total come up with the number that this committee is reviewing?
So yes, it's not all specific items that are included, but it does include components that reach the department that we're talking about.
So Ben, just to open this up, if that's the case, right? In 26, and this is not, we have 6 months left to go, but the full year budget in 26 for these three categories is 1,480,000. And the total of those three in 27 being proposed is 1.703 million, which if I did my math right, that's about a 15% increase.
So everything is not specifically included as part of that for some of the increases, so they have to look at it on a pretty micro level, but really what we're talking about is that if there are any changes specifically for what was outlined. So the only thing that was changed as part of the 27 proposed budget was the item specifically that Eric has outlined. So, but there might be some other areas that have
So here's
a little bit, but I'd have to.
I went through every page of this, every category. And there are a lot of increases, big time double-digit increases from the budget in 26, which we don't know if we went over it or we're on it or under it yet, because we've got 6 months left to go. But the 27 budget in many cases, in large categories, it's high, and the total of 15% higher than what we budgeted for this year just seems like not consistent with what we were asked to do.
So it's specifically across one budget item. So when we're looking at it from a finance perspective, some things are evening out for reductions in other departments. It's not saying specifically one department is decreasing, but if you do have specific line items where you're.
I think we should, maybe it would be a good idea to look at line items.
I'm with you, but I budgeted for 35 years.
I know.
If the total budget
I thought-
is 15% higher
I know.
than
100%.
what we forecasted for this year, I'd get thrown out.
And excerpt of what we're talking about for these specific, ones, and it also is not finished in terms of doing any reductions. And we're also, again, I think
Reductions from the budget for 27?
so we're just saying we're not finalized with the budget process yet. What we're talking about specifically, if we're keeping in mind, is specifically the parks portion. What has been changed is what the recommendation is. We're here to determine, whether or not for the parks related items, if there's any input, recommendations, actions to be made.
So I have one quick question about Benny's. What are we budgeting as an increase?
For what?
Benefits?
For benefits. So that is what we're working on right now, but I could tell you.
Because right now you're budgeting flat.
Yes, so that is something that we just got the information last week for personnel budgeting. What we essentially had budgeted was the exact same as if we would have had a fourth person that would be included as part of the
No, but isn't
Parks Department.
our health plan isn't going up?
So I'm saying that right now we're working on it. That's not necessarily, Vlad is not finished with the personnel budgeting yet. We just received the information for that portion and then worked on right now.
Because on average, last year it went up 4.7%. And I don't know about you, but mine isn't going up. So all I'm saying is we need to look at it. I don't mean to be glib. We need to look at it, because I kind of think it's gonna go up, our share. Nate, my thought is, and Mike, I completely agree with you. I went through it and it's higher. So I'm not really understanding the response right now, so maybe the best thing to do, aside from SG&A, so salaries and benefits and so forth. Let's look at the line items that any of us have a question about. Understand you're gonna go back and think about it, look at it. But I think, because it would coincide, Eric, with your notes here too, that say, well, there's a reduction there, and when you say reductions, these are reductions for the 2027 budget, correct?
Correct,
Not, and
Based
that is
off of the-
compared to the 26 budget.
correct.
Right, or additions to 27 compared to 26, got it, okay.
So let me give you an example of what makes me a little nervous here, right? If we look at the total for culture recreation expenditures, wages, benefits, services, operating maintenance, at the end, 6 months ago, when we ended 25, we spent 405,000. I don't know exactly how this happened, but the budget this year is 509,000. The budget for next year is only 510,000, but my issue is we're only at 185 after 6 months. What I'm fearful of, Ben, is these budget numbers that you're putting out there for 27 are gonna jump way above what we actually spent last year, and we're trying to spend flat this year to last year. It's just not making any sense to me. This is on page 41 of the packet.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, appreciate it. So we're.
If you look at the totals, this account, we spent 290, we spent 291 in 22, 386 in 23. Then we jumped to 431 in 24. Last year, 25, we went down to 405. This year, after 6 months, we've spent 185. The budget for the full year is 509, so we might come under that budget. We probably will, but we're asking for the same number next year, 510. I don't get it.
So not everything, has come in as part of it, or it hasn't been expended in all these categories. I'd have to really look.
I hear you. I'm not asking you for the specific answer, but I'm just saying, it's not just a matter of looking at what the budget number is for 26 and the budget number for 27. You gotta look at what's the trend line been? Some of these are being managed very well. Let me first acknowledge that. Some of these expense categories are flat to down over the years. But since 22, we've seen some dramatic jumps in spending that continue to go up. We're not flattening them, and that was part of our objective. I think finance asked all of the departments to keep their spending flat in the 27 budget with their actual 26 spending.
So something I want to understand here,
26.
I'm translating here between what Ben is saying and what Mike is saying. I hear Mike saying every department was supposed to keep it level. I'm hearing Ben say, well, the directive was to keep everything level, so some departments went up and some departments went down. Is that what you're saying, Ben?
We're talking about the
Which
whole-
I would buy that, except that we're up 15% at the total line.
Which has not been finalized yet, but it also needs
Okay.
to incorporate some of the capital projects that we're still working.
I accept what you said. I'm just going to the total line to smell test that, and I'm not liking the answer.
But I'm not sure, I'm okay with that answer, Mike, because if finance, which we've asked to do a lot of heavy lifting, said everything should be flat, and we're coming back and not having it be flat, I think that's a challenge, and I understand this is not a final budget, so we've got to make some adjustments to it. But I think that also puts us to where it sets a target for us of what we've got to do to let finance do their job, we've got to do our job.
Yeah, so we're trying to make a recommendation specifically for, the parks area. So we have the list of recommendations that Eric had included. If there's any, questions or concerns on that. And then I would say, once we get through that, we can go through, and if there's any concerns in terms of the line items, it would be what the recommendations are for, making changes to it.
So with that being said, does anybody have any questions on the reductions going in for the 2027 year?
On page 34, this is account number, 200, so this is under Public Works. So you're budgeting 5,000 on a current budget of 11,400. We spent no money in 25, so what are the other contracted services? Then you reduce the budget by about 150%.
This was Public Works.
Under Public Works, right, it's account number 53441 200. Page 34, sorry, you don't have it up, but page 34.
So it's under Public Works Fund, Public Works, Public Transportation, other contracted services, about halfway through.
Let me get to 34 here.
It's storm sewer maintenance. Not quite sure what that is, but so far we haven't spent any of the 11,400 budget.
Oh, we did. That was Orchard. That was the culvert that went in.
Okay,
So they,
So that's
the
been
county
spent.
just hasn't given us.
you haven't billed us,
a bill yet.
okay. And now we're gonna go back to what we actually spent in 23 and 24. You don't think we're gonna have those, so not Spring Road, none of that, right?
Well, we haven't really discussed Spring Road yet. We
I know,
haven't
but-
brought that up. I would love to do Spring Road. But until we have that discussion, I'm really not gonna set anything aside with it yet.
Okay,
I haven't identified any other culvert needs.
okay.
But I feel 5,000 in the contracted service accounts is a good buffer in case, something does spring up. That needs to be done.
Well, historically, it's what it was until that thing on Orchard, yeah.
Yeah, and there's also flooding and clean outs too.
Yeah.
General maintenance done by Great Lakes when utilities brings them in.
Mhm.
So I know last year we went through line by line by line.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope we don't have to do that this year because Ben, I agree that there are always going to be puts and takes under the top line numbers. So I'm with you on that, just so I'm clear. I always start with the total spend as the smell test to figure out whether or not we're executing well. So what would be helpful to me is if we have at the total level an increase, it would be good to understand what's driving the increase. Yeah, you're gonna net it out against some decreases, but is it benefits and salaries? Is it some one-off expense? Rather than go through a couple hundred line items, which I've done, I'm not sure that that's productive because I'm not the expert on where we need to spend the money. What would help me though is to understand at the total level, what's driving the increase in the last 12 months, over the last couple of years, those sorts of things.
So I would just say, I'm not talking, and this is not the item specifically for the budget, that's what we're gonna be talking about at finance.
Yeah.
But, there is gonna be increases in terms of wages. We have kept it at what we're currently are in terms of what the proposed staffing would be, right? So that would technically be, 4-man crew unless that changed in the future. That's what currently is being budgeted at this time. And then in terms of any of the capital improvements, this really isn't included as part of this specific section.
Right,
But
capital outlays.
if we're talking about overall, like that is a significant portion of what we're talking about is that we'd be attributing, capital improvements for what the budget is. So overall, but I would just say in terms of, we've kept everything static from what it is for the 26 budget for the 27. And then you can think about it for the reductions and additions, that's what has been modified as part of the parks budget, which if there is anything in a specific line item, that's why Eric put together the recommendation. This is the recommendation, and then if there's any modifications specifically, or if there's any questions on how things are attributed, you know, throughout the portion of the budget, we can have to clarify that.
So Eric, on page 30, under, street maintenance, there's a line for information technology. So we didn't spend any money on it in 25. And we budgeted $3,000 in 26, but we haven't spent anything yet. And you budgeted 3,000 for 27, is that, I'm not quite sure how we use information technology, it's great, we don't have the bill yet, or we're not gonna spend it, but we're budgeting the same for next year.
That is one that I have never used or utilized. So we could move that elsewhere,
Or delete it.
correct?
Well,
You know,
by that we just.
what would we use
zero.
information technology for in public, in, street maintenance? Any idea?
Oh, there's a really good use for it,
What is it?
to analyze the roads. There was a whole thing at the,
Cool.
you get 2 cameras, you put it on the front of your car, you drive the roads, you pick up everything on AI and you have it sorted.
I'm not
all.
sure what we thought about using it for 26, but you're not gonna use it, but we budgeted.
I think
This is
that's
the danger of using a budget for a budget.
and I think that the one of the overarching issues I've heard Mike over the years, I do listen, Mike, is that what our actual spend in 25 is different, has got some substantial misses from where we had budgeted. And I think that we won't know that for 26 until 26 is over.
You can do projections on it, that's, I'll.
You kind of
spare you
can, but
that
at the same point,
that
6,
Speech. It's okay. I got you.
okay,
I understand.
so
If I could, at some point, we gotta get developed as an organization so that when we have 6 months of actual data, we can forecast for the remaining 6 months within a range of plus or minus 10%.
Why couldn't AI do that for us? Or what about the new system that we're gonna do now? I know it's an accounting system, you know,
Yeah. I forget what it's called too,
it's a
but
different, it's
but-
not
but-
Cassell,
but
the one
I-
that's not Cassell.
because in business, you have to do that. And there's not, in accounting, there's not that much difference in accounting for a municipality than there is in a business. Although we are staffed lightly, Glad spread thin, but giving him automation tools should help him be enabled to do a better job of this.
Okay, so when I said, can we get rid of information technology for this category, we can't do that, or what do we become zero
So
or what?
I think so if you wanna say what you're saying, but I think it's just that we budgeted for it, that we would utilize it for that purpose, it wasn't utilized. And we have it maintained as a budgeted item without having spent the funds to provide that service.
But if we're not gonna spend it next year, I mean, would we even have it in there as a placeholder? When we could be either not using the money at all or using it somewhere else, is my question.
And that's, you know, why as well is that if we're having this discussion is that if we don't feel as though for that purpose that it's gonna be utilized, if it can be utilized elsewhere, or if it's just put to zero.
That would be up to,
Or we're making a recommendation,
how much,
actually what we're here.
how many items that we had 0 and 25 that we've allocated for 27? What is that total number? That's not an insignificant number there. And
well,
how I would look at that is we don't collapse that to 0 we just say that's contingency and have it be some fraction of that, so that if these things do come up.
there's fluff. So equipment rental, we're just above it on page 30 for street maintenance. We've never used it until we budgeted for 26, $2,000. We're budgeting $2,000 for 27. Is that, were we gonna rent some stuff for street maintenance, Eric?
We keep that in there as a buffer in case we need to. The last time we used that account was 2 years ago. We rented from Lincoln down to Appleton. That was a grinding machine that cost about $2,000 a day.
It must have gone someplace else because it's not in this, but it probably went to a different budget. So it's $5,000 in stuff we aren't gonna maybe use. So that's the stuff that kind of jumps out.
I think that we need that buffer, but we can't, there's gonna be something that comes up. But when we have,
Disagree.
what I'm suggesting is we can have a general buffer, so we're not putting $1,000 away 10 different times for something we might do, and we just put $2,000 away for something,
Yeah.
all of those items.
Okay.
Because we're never gonna predict everything that's gonna happen. Our bingo card isn't big enough.
So for seasonal decorations, believe it or not, I am gonna start the seasonal decoration committee only about a year later. So you've got, where are we? Seasonal decorations. Oh, repairs and maintenance. So this year you budgeted 5,000. I think, did you take that out? It looks like,
I reduced it.
okay. You took it out. The refund will be enough to cover seen and unforeseen in 27, because you budgeted 2,000. Doesn't look like you spent anything yet. But you're gonna spend some of that in 26 and then carry it over or something?
I mean, there's
or-
always something that pops up that can be fixed or repaired.
This is all Christmas, right?
Yeah, this is all related to Christmas.
Okay.
I wanted to reduce it more last year, but it stayed at the 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we drop it down to 5 this year. We'll see how it goes.
Wait, what line are you on? I see 5,000 repairs and maintenance, and you reduced it to 2. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong line.
It was also general supplies, subtract 5,000.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah,
You spent 5, you spent 5 grand, you budgeted 10, and then you want to spend 5. Okay.
yeah. I wanted to drop that last year down to 5 too, but it remained at 10.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get this year.
Okay, well, I'm doing exactly what nobody wanted to do, which is line item stuff.
Well, let's do it at the bottom line then.
Okay,
If we look at page 37 and 38 in the packet,
yep,
the CRE parks, is that what it's called?
The culture, recreation, education.
Parks category, right? In December, which was just 7 months ago, we finished that 12-month window spending just under $190,000, right?
Yeah.
We came up with a budget of $233,000 for this year, which was a big increase. I'm not sure why that happened, but we did. We've spent, after 6 months, $62,000. If we double that, we're at 125. You could say that there's other things that is missing. And we're asking for 234 for next year. I don't get that. That's a big difference. Actual 6 months ago, what we're proposing in the 12 months beginning in January.
one big item, go to page, where are we, 37? And this is 26 over 25 from a budget standpoint. Under parks. And it's benefits related, it's health. At 34,600 versus 2025's 20,064. So that's a benefits thing.
Benefits, and then also just in terms of, the only other increase was for the memorial supplies, which would be for, the benches, for more supplies for that, but that also considers the revenue that hasn't been captured yet.
Well, but that's a 72% increase for health. I mean, that's a weird number.
Just stating in addition for, what we're talking about, those are the two, major, some of the major items besides wages.
But do you see this on page 37? You see 36,648 for health under parks. The previous year was 20,000. But we budgeted 36,000. We budgeted a 72% increase. And we're gonna budget the same number again.
Didn't have a full staffed crew. as part of it as well.
25.
Well, so we're budgeting for 4 people to be included as part of the budget.
Mhm.
Currently, we have 3.
Okay.
It was intended to do part-time for a trial period. Right now, it's still budgeted as 4. So for a period of time, it was not fully utilized for that purpose.
Right, still looks high to me. Should look at it. We're budgeting basically flat to the prior year, and the prior year, that number this year looks really big.
So you're saying, you're talking about we spent $6,774 now. I think that exacerbates the point Mike is bringing up. It doesn't explain it. It points out the bigger gulf that's there, and I get that. To June 30th is not 50% of the expense. The majority of our season is after June 30th, but that still doesn't make sense to me either.
Well, I mean, benefits are based on the gross wages. And so at least you can use a percentage. So in this particular case, we have full-time wages at 104,000 on the prior year's 72,500.
But benefits and salary are completely forecastable.
I know. But this doesn't, it looks,
Yeah.
all I'm saying is it's out.
I'm agreeing with you.
So Ben, I think you ought to look at that
Sure.
and talk to our HR person about that.
You know, I'll show you another one. These are, I'm going to the big numbers too, right? On slide 40. Under culture, recreation and education. And on January 1st, if we go back to the beginning of this year, in 25, we spent $52,000 that year. We're proposing 75,000 next year. We've spent 30,000 after 6 months. Okay, I get it. But in a year and a half, that's a 47% increase in spending in that department alone, or that group of departments, I should say. In the 55-400 series.
That's wages are up 50%.
Well, full-time wages,
The budget,
yeah, I'm looking at full-time wages.
budget, but we're not there from a spend standpoint. We're not spending it.
I mean, planning a budget is not an easy process. And we are in a difficult period of time because we are living with inflation. And we also have inflation impacting heavily benefits and personnel. I get that. But it's not a 15% increase.
So maybe the best thing, because I think, Ben, you mentioned that this isn't final, you're still going back over budgets again, you just got some information about benefits and so forth. Let me think, so we have
So
the finance scheduled, is it next week?
No, I
So
think
it's the 28th, but I mean, in terms of, like I said, we're looking at it from the parks perspective. Is that when we're looking at it from a holistic perspective, we could certainly bring it up at finance. What we have is what the proposed changes are, and if there are any proposed changes, those recommendations can be made as part of it. Right?
Yeah, okay. I think what we're calling out is that I think we're just,
Or if we,
I think what we're calling out is, and it's great if holistically the budget's flat, but we have opportunities, it looks like within the parks thing, within the parks piece of it. To, I think we have an opportunity to take another look at how wages are planned, how benefits are planned, and in some cases, just how much cushion we have in there.
We're not accurate.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
So in terms of some of the items, so we generally, at least in the past, have taken a look at things in terms of personnel in the future, in terms of looking at it from what it is, not from an individual perspective, but from an entire organization's perspective of looking at it. I would say the biggest thing in terms of a gap is that we have not, like I said, we have not fully utilized the staffing portion that we budgeted for and intended for as part of our organizational chart. Because it was somewhat of a gap year testing whether or not there'd be capacity for doing seasonal employees versus doing a full, doing another full-time individual on staff. And that's something that if that changed, we could budget differently, but right now it's saying here is exactly what we're budgeting for from a staff perspective.
I hear you, but I can, I'll put my finance committee hat on. We don't have a 15% in $300,000+ increase in spending for parks in 27.
And then let's decide what we're gonna cut and which services are gonna be.
I'd be happy to help make
Exactly.
those suggestions.
Exactly. So I mean, in terms of it, there's always a dollar value when we're talking about what you get for bang for your buck.
I'm with you. But I would argue that the first place we need to go is more realistic forecasting for the remainder of this fiscal year, because I wouldn't be surprised if we could get $200,000 of savings right now just by getting grounded in the reality of what we're gonna actually spend this year.
I would have to see in terms of forecasting what specifically, you know, that.
Yeah,
right now-
I'm just, my hunch.
Yeah, I mean.
I have knowledge, it's my hunch.
Yeah,
I think the number I'm looking at is the difference between the 2025 actuals
Yeah,
and the 27 budgeted. And
that's what
a-
I'm looking at.
That's where we've got to have, and there's reasons why there's gonna be a difference in there.
Right.
But we should look at those larger number items. The other thing I would say, and I've had conversations with Vat about this is, well, we need to clap some of these categories and just call them benefits. I mean, that makes this a lot more to read, a lot more to handle.
well, a lot of places it's not necessarily, I mean, by a lot of places, a lot of municipalities that they don't necessarily use the accounting code, they use some general budgeting and then it's interpreted.
Yeah,
what it is
what-
really accounted for.
What they might do is, I talked to a village president friend of mine. Who said they basically create a pro forma for their board and committees. And they support the pro forma would just take the higher level account numbers. Not all of the detailed accounts, because quite frankly. It's, I think, naive for us to be critiquing every single spending category you and Eric and your team are
I'm glad you said it.
managing it, right?
Right.
But
Mike's right.
the big numbers are the ones that we're concerned about. And the big numbers are, in my
Right.
case, the totals.
And when you're, I mean, my experience is when you're concerned about big numbers, you start drilling down.
I look at the big
And
number
then you-
gaps
yeah.
first and then I
And then
drill
you
down.
start drill down and go, well, what's, so.
Right,
I would agree. And you can also, so I'm just wondering, like, from projection standpoint, no, you're right. It's the end of June and 50%, you don't think, okay, well, then it just double it, that's what we're gonna spend. That is not the case from a billable standpoint or whatever. So what if you just erred on the, like, the more, on the, and the more cautious side and said, let's say that it's not half, we don't have half the year, and let's say it's, I don't know, let's say it's 40% of the year, or 35%
Yeah,
of the
you
year.
could do it
I mean,
any
that's
number of ways.
pretty darn low to say, well, wait a second, you know?
We could look at past, I mean, it's not like we don't have data.
Well,
AI
and-
can-
and
AI
our-
can
and our-
look at it and say, based on history, seriously,
Oh, yeah, I know, you don't.
I know.
I mean,
that.
you can, when you look at parks, that is an example, and I see this in the whole village-wide budget. What I like about this report is it gives us the actuals at the end of 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yep.
And our current budget in 26. That's a trend. And some of these categories, you can see why our taxes went up so much a couple of years ago, because the spending went up a lot. In some of these categories. Now, we talked about it being tip related only. But spending went up in a lot of these categories pretty significantly.
Well, look at, I mean. Look at 24, so revenues went up, guess what else went up? You know,
So I mean, what we're talking about, if I'm interpreting this correctly, is that you'd be proposing further reductions or alignment with what the actuals are from the year. But I guess in terms of a buffer, we're also saying that there's an importance for having a buffer. Is there a certain amount that we're looking for in terms of buffer room from what we spent previously? Because in a lot of instances, the spending that has, it's been down in some portions of the budget, but essentially it's been re-attributed for other portions of the budget at the end of the year, so that at the end of the day, we're ending up breaking even because we've levied the amount. Otherwise, if we're budgeting, it's with the intention of also cutting, specific, services personnel, just general services, what we're talking about, if we're looking for a total reduction as well. So
So Ben, I'm gonna take you back a step. If I were you, the first thing I'd wanna know is within plus or minus 10%, what your best estimate is of what you're gonna spend in each of your high-level budget categories. And how does that compare to the recently confirmed audit report spending for 25? Okay, that would be what I'd wanna know. That would be my starting point. Because what you actually spend this year is the number that we wanted to kind of keep spending flat to. Whether or not we can do that or not, we don't know yet. But that's what we're kind of hoping we can understand. And I get the guesstimates that we do for the remainder of the year. But you also have multiple years, you can go back and look at the spending, apply the rate of inflation if you want as an example to figure out, is it reasonable or not? You know, that's the thing that I think we have to do. Because if every department comes in with spending this high, we can't levy, we can't levy that much.
Well, I mean, the next biggest one is most of general government salaries.
It is and or contracted services.
Okay, so we're 10% of the total budget, our budget. Roughly, about 10.3% of the total budget, including capital outlay and debt service, right? And then after that, I mean, those two are big, but if you took those out, we're even bigger. The other one is general government, which is SG&A. So.
That's the reason you always hear me harping on debt expense, because that you don't have any flexibility with. And if that keeps getting bigger as a percent of our operating budget, it's a problem.
Right now, it's a little over 50%.
Total, I think you're right.
Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
in 2025, it was 6.4 on 13.8. And this year, it was budgeted at almost 6 million on 10, that's
Yeah.
over 60% of the budget. So what should we do? Should we, because the next finance meeting, this should not go to finance till we look at it again, but the next finance meeting is August 31st, right?
So something else I will mention is some CIP projects I'd like to get in there, and this is part of the budgeting process typically. I don't know. This
Okay.
is, I mean, like I mentioned that to you, Ben. I've got two things that I think we should think about. And when we do them is an open question. But, I think that we should extend the sidewalk 960 feet along 42 from, I forget what road it is, but down to the corner by Jerry's. So we'll go in front of the beach barn and all that.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got parts of that,
Yeah.
that's 960 feet.
Mhm.
I'd like to get staff to get a number on that, and then maybe we can talk about it. I don't know.
Well, I don't have any problem with that. I think what you're gonna find is Vlad and Ben have done some excellent work on understanding our cash reserve position. And the reason we want projects like this out there is because I think the board might have the opportunity to reallocate cash reserves accumulated from projects that have died that we might be able to use. And I think there also could be cash reserves that are not allocated towards specific projects that the board would have to make decisions on. I think those are both possibilities. So, you know, I think we should have those as, if they're not on the list, we should put them on the list and have that conversation.
So I've got this one, I'll hand that to you.
What's
Ben.
the other one?
So then, that one is the one up there. The other one is, this is a longer one. Eventually, we're gonna get this trail done.
Mm-hmm.
And the trail's gonna end right by the pet clinic. So I'm gonna show this to Mike first, and then I'll hand the paper over
The
to
pet
you.
clinic.
So you've got the pet clinic. here.
Is this, are we on 57 here?
Yep, so if you came down here
57.
and you
Yeah.
came back and the county let us do an easement on the back of the property line down to Fieldcrest, all the way down to corner of the pass.
Okay,
Situate Historical is open to it. I think it's worth looking at long term. Now, this doesn't make any sense to do until the trail's done, but we start talking about it now, so that when the trail's done in a couple of years.
so Louise, help me with the governance question. As these things come up in parks, does parks make recommendations that they get included in the CIP plan
I don't know,
too?
we've never done it before.
Okay, I don't,
So there's been a CIP meeting years ago.
yeah,
Gosh, we did that at Birchwood Lodge when Zeke Jackson was still here, it was last time we had one.
When it's first starting, that's pretty typical.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I just wanna have this idea down somewhere,
Yeah.
understanding. Funding is, when it happens, but I think these are important projects to get out there. And that does, one, I can tell you, Sister Bay Historical is generally agreeable to this.
mhm.
Oh, you're gonna go back behind and then come that way.
And then, but
I was upside down.
the other thing we've gotta do is we've also gotta get the county on board with this, which I'm sure the county will be happy to support us.
So,
Well, it's a trail, it's just.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
so again, Nate, you and Louise might have to help me with this as board members. We have a multi-year capital improvement plan that's out there that we've been pushing back some of the projects. I'd argue some of those projects should maybe drop off and new projects should come in. What's the process to do that, is what I'm
Just
asking.
keep kicking the can down the road.
So you're saying inclusion of new projects, or like, I guess, right now it's the recommendation from finance in terms of those items. I wouldn't say have a very comprehensive process, it's mainly staff driven with the recommendations and then going to finance. But with that being said, there's always like, projects come from everywhere, right?
Yeah.
With an idea, when we're talking about dog park improvements,
Right.
when we're talking about this, it's the recommendation to include it as part of it. If it's not included as part of a current year's budget, I always say, if it's best practice that you include it in and then modify later.
Yeah.
That you should have it somewhere, or at least have a list of projects that you're defining.
Well,
that it should be in the future.
I'm agreeing with that completely. I would have thought naively, apparently, that Parks and Infrastructure, what's the name of our committee?
Parks and Streets.
Properties and streets.
Okay, I would have thought we would provide input into a long-term capital improvement plan process.
And this is me trying to start that process.
For our parks, property and streets.
Yeah.
No, you're right, we should, and then we don't have a process in place for that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I thought.
But because it doesn't come up, right, has never come up on an agenda item, and I don't know that it needs to be agenda. Part of agenda, I don't
I
know.
mean, like, I would, how I was looking at this is under the budget, I mean, like, this is definitely budget related.
Right, or in conversations during parks meetings, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a defined project, I mean, right now it's that each department director provides the recommendation. In the future, there could certainly be something in terms of projects that would be recommended. We'd have to start the process earlier to make any recommendations for it. But I think just in terms of this, yes, we can have this be forwarded over to finance as something that'd be proposed. This project would be way in the future. It depends on when this project would be implemented. If it's a 28 project, or if we're looking at it for 27, you know, it just depends on when we're looking at doing that specifically, or what the recommendation would be.
So Louise and Nate and Ben, I'm gonna ask another question related to governance and process. And I'm gonna use the example, but I think it could be others. We have a passionate group of people that would like to see some fairly minor improvements in the dog park. To me, that's not a capital project. That is something that we should be including in our operating budget. And I say that because, one, it's an existing facility. There were really no capital items that they were asking for on their plan. And when you do capital, you end up with debt expense likely, unless you use cash reserves, which I don't like right now because I'm getting nervous about the level of debt we're trying to manage in our village. So how do we do that? I mean, this is a case of where it looks to me like they should be getting a little attention, because I don't know if anybody in the last year has come with a group of people other than the village hall with that many people with that much passion saying, hey, we need to make some improvements. And they're not asking for anything that's extraordinary. How do we do that? How does Parks do that? Do we make recommendations to Eric? Is that just part of what is maintenance of the dog park, just part of Ben and Nate's and Eric's responsibility? How exactly does that work? I'm asking. I'm not sure.
I think we'd have to have a good understanding of what maintenance of the dog, what's the weekly list, monthly, weekly list of maintenance for the dog park look like? Policies for the dog park, what is parks expectations, and based on, so holes, I mean, there's been holes in the dog park for a long time. And then fencing, there's been issues with fencing for a while. There's definitely issues around that fence where, you know, the border fence, where, so how can it be, can you edge it And how often do you have to edge it, and what is that gonna cost, and is that gonna increase the budget? As far as them being allowed to, this is just things that. So this is just work that would need to be done, right? Now, as far as trying to figure out the drainage, it's a great idea if somebody could come in and try and help us figure out drainage, because it is a skating rink there in the summer. I do know 2 people that broke their knees in there.
Is that,
did
are
not
we
sue us.
talking about in the parking lot or inside?
Oh,
the dog?
inside. Inside, you don't go there in the winter, I don't.
So I would recommend that we talk about this as an agenda item potentially in the future. We also do have only $2,000 besides obviously wages for the items for the dog park specifically, and it's only about $1,000 in donations that have been put aside as part of it. In terms of minor things, it can be. We also have recreational use indemnification for anything as well. Not saying that that's a good excuse, but
Yeah.
I think that we should probably talk about this if we want more extensive.
That's a great suggestion. I appreciate that. So that's a governance answer. You're
Yeah.
basically saying, look, and I would support that, getting that on the next parks meeting agenda.
There's also a certain amount that staff can, that is just staff, like, we're here to set policies. The staff is here to implement, so I think that I would imagine that it's not just gonna be falling on deaf ears, but we're not gonna direct staff what they do. There's probably some simple things they can or may choose to do, but we don't.
Right, I mean, some of it's maintenance and some of it, I mean, you don't have to fill holes every time you go to mow the lawn. You
I'm
fill the
with
holes
you, but-
once and then, so it all depends on. There's X number of hours right now probably devoted to mowing the lawn in there for. It's every week, right?
1 hour.
An hour a week. Otherwise, if things come up, so they mow the lawn, they take out the trash, and then they look to replace the poop bags, right?
Correct.
So that's the weekly thing. And then it's a matter of, okay, what does the fences look like? Cause little dogs escape a lot.
So I think that this is a item 7 thing at this point. I mean,
Yeah, I,
so it's,
yeah, let's, we can have a conversation.
let's also be kind to Louise. She has done a very good job of slimming down our agendas. So if we don't get to
Absolutely.
it next month,
Yeah,
we'll know why.
yeah,
Agreed.
it'll keep going, so
On a future agenda.
Yes.
on a future agenda. So I have a question, so back to this, so the next finance meeting is August 31st, we don't meet again until September 8th. So how do we go back over this budget again before the finance meeting?
I think before that finance meeting, we might want to have either a video conference or an in-person meeting just to review where we are with the budgets.
With whatever's going to finance before,
I mean, Ben, were you here last year when we were, okay.
no,
I mean, it was kind of ugly because the finance committee ended up just taking the list and crossing things out and.
I mean, again, it's a recommendation from Parks, so
Yeah,
the way that it goes, Eric provided his baseline from what it is for the subtractions, additions. The Parks Committee can definitely within the purview if there's any changes to recommend to finance. Finance essentially is the primary governing body that does the workshopping for the budget and provides it to the village board. And the village board has final say. So in terms of governance, that's the way that it goes. If we're looking at drastically changing, right now, we don't necessarily have a great tool for forecasting.
Yeah.
We use complete spreadsheets and pulling everything in terms of invoices and everything else, like it can be done, it just is. It's not gonna be a great forecasting process right now that it hasn't been built. In terms of changes, if there's some general guidance in terms of, should we be looking at having a significant amount of reductions based off of spending that doesn't occur for parks, or generally, are we looking at it in terms of the cushion has generally been utilized in other areas? And we make just a general recommendation of maintaining where we have work from spending from last year and then find reductions where we can. I guess, in terms of if we're not making specific line item changes, if there's a general consensus, or we can have a meeting where it can be more of a workshop and we can talk about the nitty gritty as well.
well, the question I would have is right now. The budgeted. Budget request. Is 15% over or $300 some odd thousand higher than we were in 2025. And either we get down to that 2025 number, or we have to understand where we're gonna go up and why. Because I could see the finance committee just coming back and saying, hey, you gotta be flat with last year.
Yeah, I don't think that we, as committee members in good conscience will pass it to finance and say, we're good with this.
Did let me know what resources that you like to provide, or if you have a special meeting, or what you'd like to provide over finance.
I think we need to have a special meeting.
Yeah,
And I would ask Vlad to look at the numbers with Eric. And based on what he has historically by account to give us a projection for what this year's actual spending will be. And I'm not asking him to go pull every purchase commitment that hasn't been invoiced, but he's gonna know the big numbers. I think if we just say to Vlad, hey, look, this is $300,000 off. What are our options? He's probably gonna come up with something.
because I mean, I know that absolutely for the most part, every single line item is planned flat to budget. So again, the question is, was the budget right? And there's some things here that look like the budget was a little wonky. And some of it has to do with benefits. And I don't know if if Vlad can look at that. But, I mean, one of them is like 15 grand.
Something else I think I heard support for was to, instead of letting these items sit on unused items year after year, consolidate that to a contingency item, even though internally in the budget, you may have to allocate it. But just so we can say, okay, yeah, no, we've got $15,000 in contingency versus having $30,000 spread across 30 items. Mike, is that
Yeah, I
agreeable to
agree.
you?
I agree. In fact, if I could, but I think there's an issue. But if I could, I'd give Ben the flexibility of doing that reallocation, but I think I asked him about this once before and he said it requires approval from the board.
Just from when we're talking about having budget amendments, but if there's a new code created. But again, it's just hard because when we're looking at it literally, like this is exactly what we're coding in terms of invoices and everything else. It's not just a budget in terms of here's a category and here's what a lump sum amount is. We're passing something essentially that's, pretty granular.
But if we can commit to saying, okay, you make that perform out for us and says, this is the contingency. We commit to saying, yeah, okay, if you go and spend this, it can go to any one of these items. And we'd potentially have to have a budget amendment if that happened, but I'd rather make a budget amendment versus having silos with contingency for a whole bunch of different items.
All right, so special meeting, any ideas for when, and gonna take, I would say a couple weeks, right? If finance, if you work backwards, if finance is Monday, the 31st. And that packet then would need to go out by Wednesday, the 26th. Right? About that,
We probably want the information by the 26th, information will go out on the 27th.
okay, so information on the 26th. So in order to compile the information, it sounds like we'd have to meet the week of the August 17th.
Could we, I mean, Wednesday or Thursday of that week would work for me,
I can do either one.
1920.
Which days did you say?
19th or the 20th.
Of August, yeah.
I think if it's at 1 o'clock, I can do either of those days.
Wednesday's better for me if that's okay with you guys.
Wednesday, the 19th, this room is not available.
Okay.
We're looking at this,
Who is
the
it?
knitters right here
Uh,
at 1 p.m.
But it has to be open, right? Otherwise.
I mean, we could always do the small conference room, or we could also ask the vendors if they could. Or it could also be virtual.
Could we do it earlier in the day? I mean, would 11 o'clock that day work?
I think you wanted one. Mike, can you do 11 o'clock on the 19th?
Or is that?
I think I can. Oh, let me just, on the 19th, not the 20th, right?
Right.
Yeah.
On the 19th. At 11 o'clock, you said?
Yeah.
I can, that's the earliest I can do it.
Okay, so we'd have from 11 to 1.
Mhm.
Right, just other than if you're at 1 o'clock. So 11 to 1 on the 19th. All right, and then,
Sarah, can you email Jerry?
so Jerry's
Right away.
aware and knows what we're gonna be doing, okay. Okay, any more discussion about budget? Okay, I don't think we have any motion, and I'll move on to the next item.
Right, just ask, was there general consensus on those two?
Yeah,
Forecast.
for me, for the SIP, yes.
For the SIP?
And the only thing I'll ask, isn't the one already on the SIP?
So the Highway 57 extension, I guess if you want to call it a phase 1, is included. Which
Okay.
is the primary.
So that would be a phase 2?
And this would bring it to outside of that corridor, but still maintaining along. Like the general, so this is a new portion of trail. that's
Okay.
proposed. Which would probably be sometime in like 29. It would be proposed.
Yeah, I think they're both a good idea.
Okay, so next up is, the item donation proposal Sister Bay Lions Club.
Let me just quick get this.
I'm just gonna pass this out so you guys know what the, I just, printed a picture of the flagpole, so you know what we're talking about.
So essentially the village of Sister Bay was approached by the Lions Club regarding a proposed flagpole near Waterfront Park, behind Village Hall. They would like to provide the funds for the flagpole. They did provide a letter as part of the packet identifying what the primary interests are as well as what the cost estimate would be. They would like to provide the village with the funds for that specific purpose and then have the village purchase those items. And then in the future, they wanted to put on, a plaque dedicated to the Lions Club and requested in the future that we consider some landscaping assistance that be the responsibility of the village. It's not included as part of their donation request at this time, but just something that we talked about as part of the meeting. There's two different variations from what you're talking about. There's a 35-foot flagpole and then there's a 40-foot flagpole. When talking about it, the 35-foot would be preferable just in terms of height and village codes, but they also stated that they would potentially do 40, but we'd have to have some additional items to comply with the height requirements. So with that being said, what is being requested here is a recommendation to the village board for a formal acceptance of the donation and then just clarification on the recommendation for the flagpole height. And then Louise passed around just what we're generally looking at in terms of the visual for the flagpole.
And it
Well,
gives
if
you
we,
the flag size too, is it
Yeah,
by
it's
12?
flag size.
I think it's awesome. Can they put it in my yard?
No. I think that's, I think it's wrap,
You
yeah.
can ask them directly.
Abby had a question?
Yeah, just regarding the location, I do know people set up there for the beach and it would take away some real estate that way, wondering if there's discussion about the location.
I think it's on the other side, cause I thought about that too. You know where the fire pit is?
Yeah.
So you think that would take away from space for people?
Just where it's pictured on here, the pin, it looks really close to that,
So
but
that's not something they provided, that's just something in terms of that general area. So
You're
it's-
right, I mean, the beach creep is a thing. So they kind of want it in between. And they wanted it in between Village Hall and the post office. Do you have a better idea for the location there?
I don't.
Cause you can't really walk down on those rocks, right? It's too hard.
People
People
do
do,
all the time.
yeah.
Isn't there a big sign that says don't walk on the rocks?
As
What
more
Ben said before.
liability, indemnification, recreational.
Do you have an opinion on this, Eric?
Not exactly, it's gonna take up some space.
Well, we already have the not wayfinding, we have the historical signage, which is on the other side,
Yeah,
close to the, okay,
And then you got the fire pit, and then you're adding another thing. That's a small little area. I mean,
Yeah, but if they want to do like a little, you know, let's say you do a little sort of gardeny thing with a plaque and stuff, it's gonna take up space. I don't know, cause then if you do on the other side of the pavers. You know what I mean? That could be,
I think my main concern would be erosion. In that area, how close is it?
well, it's nowhere yet.
Exactly. That if we stick it there, that however close you get to those rocks, they are susceptible to erosion.
Well, I know.
That would be my main concern.
Yeah.
I'd like it more closer to the brick path to stem that off. That would be.
So what if it was on this corner, like right on the corner here?
What if it's north of the village hall?
Well, they kind of wanted it in between. We could go back and ask them.
I mean, if I look there, I mean, it's an area that, where people have parked, and like, it's 30 feet difference. I mean, let's just see what they say. Why not ask them?
You on the other side of that path that goes to the boathouse?
Between the village hall and that path.
Yeah. Between Village Hall and the path. Okay. So you mean right, do you mean right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think erosion is a call that would be. We don't ever get any, there's no shoves or anything there, right? I mean, I know that we get a lot of wind. But
There hasn't been shoves in a long time.
I don't know.
No, the shoves kind of build up where the swim dock is.
Okay.
They stop there.
Right.
It's the sandy soil that can really get moved around in that location.
Okay. You wanna see if they're okay with that, Ben?
Sure. So Nate, where are you saying versus the dot that's on the picture? You wanna move it that way?
Right here. Generally keep it closer to water, so we make it be visible there.
Oh, over here.
Yeah.
And just in general, their intent really is to have it be visible. That was generally what they wanted.
Yeah, probably from the street too. He's saying there, I'd put more over here, but. that's
If it's
just-
gonna, well, it wouldn't be as visible if it's gonna be behind the boathouse.
Parking there.
Well, that's what they wanted 40 feet.
Then put it right in the middle of that lot.
Well, there's no lot. That is,
Oh, that's not a lot?
Space.
well, it is, but it's not. Well, I'm saying there's another extended lot that people have decided existed.
Tim's Toys wouldn't like it there on the other side, Mike.
I don't know, it's a very generous gift. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's very nice. I would ask them for a little input, but I bet they'd be flexible with us too, as long as it's in a good location and people can see it. Nothing wrong with that.
So generally what we're talking about for the proposed location, and are we fine having the conditions for 35 feet? For the recommendation?
Yeah, 35 feet, I think is plenty, yeah. Not 40.
I'm not for that person from a staff perspective for 40, so. I would
So
say
40 we'd have to change our ordinance, is that what it is?
35 feet, 35 feet is what we tap out in terms of the height for any structures. And 40, we'd have to essentially get a variance first, so
I'd make sure they understand that,
I've expressed it to them.
and they're okay,
They still want 40, but they said that they're flexible,
okay.
you know how it goes.
I just wouldn't want this to become a negative.
No, I think that they're happy with it. They
Yeah.
overall want it to be visible and that they wanted to express in the future that they wouldn't have any objections if they put on a plaque onto it.
I think they should be able to put a plaque on it.
I think there'd be room to do some landscaping.
Yeah.
I think it would be disruptive over on the other side because
It will be, because there's, and I mean, some kids
That
set
could
up
be a part of our
games
sell to them,
and
is that,
stuff,
hey,
and there's a lot of movement around there. Could you, I mean, if you could explain that to them, and they may not realize it, but there is, in the summer, I mean, there's tents, there, God only knows what is in there.
it's a really generous gift.
All right, so we're in agreement that it would be on the north side of, Village Hall. You're right, Tim sets up there, but he doesn't set up that close to that parking area, I don't
Who
think.
doesn't? I was talking what Mike was discussing on the other side
Over on the other side.
of the
I
drive.
don't know if
So
they're
you
gonna like to
surround
be
up-
behind
Yeah.
the,
Generally.
I don't know if they're gonna like to be behind the boathouse.
Yep.
Just saying.
they're probably.
I didn't have the map right now.
I mean, as far as spots, you know, to not inconvenience beachgoers, that is probably the best spot. You know, you're not giving up any space that's utilized regularly.
Yeah.
By beachgoers.
Think we have consensus on that?
Okay, north of Village Hall.
Did they express what size flag?
Yeah, it's in the,
There's, no, you didn't get the handout, sorry, it's not, is it in the packet, they said?
Oh,
8 by 12, it's in their quote.
okay, an 8 by 12. Okay. That's a size we don't utilize.
We
okay,
also have a 5 by 8 Wisconsin, are they gonna fly both?
Our largest is 6 by 10.
Well, it'd be ours to do what we'd like for it.
Okay.
I think that might just be
All right.
included as part of there.
And
Hey,
then,
real quick,
That's a-
how big is this flagpole right out here? Is that 35?
I'd say it's getting close.
Yeah, I do too.
And that's a 6 by 10.
Yeah. I mean, it probably looks exactly like that, I would guess.
That's just, the flag's gonna be a little bigger.
Okay,
so when we take flags to half mast, this would be one of them that goes to half mast, right?
Correct.
Okay, they just, so they understand that.
Mhm.
Okay,
and what about lights on it?
They're gonna do a solar light for, dark sky.
Okay,
It's gonna be
perfect.
shining down.
That was
Perfect.
part of it that I did talk with them initially, that they, need to have that be facing down, because initially they wanted to do something pointing.
I actually think they look cooler. I have one that shoots down at my flag. You see the flag better.
so it says disc solar flagpole down light, 266 LED.
Just make sure they get it so that you can replace it with a crank system. You don't have to get the fire department.
Oh, I would hope that they would have it like this flagpole here where it's all there's
Yeah.
a whole pulley inside of there.
Perfect.
Well, you would hope that, did you see, you see the quote, right?
It can also be slightly
It's an
modified.
ECX 40CL, look at the specs.
I'm just talking about the solar.
No,
lights,
online,
'cause they-
sorry, go to page 52 online. The quote's in there, so you can look at the specs if you think there's gonna be an issue, since you're the one that's gonna be operating it. And they don't have to pay tax, yippee. Okay, so I'll move to, let me see what this thing is, sorry. Yeah, I will move to recommend that the village board accept the Sister Bay Lions Club donation for purchase installation of a new flagpole near Waterfront Park, behind Village Hall, no, to the north of Waterfront Park, with the flagpole to be 35 feet in height, to remain consistent with village code, and to acknowledge that any future requests related to packs or landscaping will be reviewed through standard village processes. We have a second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
All right, next up is Mill Road Triangle questions. We are on page 53, 54.
Do we want to record a vote from Nate on that?
Nate, do you want to vote nay or yay on the flagpole,
Yeah.
north of Village Hall?
Yeah.
So we're on to the most recent questions from REL relative to the admin building, or sorry,
So this
yeah,
just
demo.
came in last minute and just wanted to just reiterate some things are known. So the one thing would be the anticipated timeline for the demolition of the administration building. That's just something after this process that we're talking about for the A&E portion. We're gonna have to have a conversation about what we're doing with the current administration building where staff are gonna be housed. And that we're just gonna have a conversation about what that anticipated time frame would be. Just wanted to express that there are gonna be some challenges, and that's, we've had, it's been expressed through different staff meetings that there is gonna be a lot of complications in terms of the move to a temporary building in the meantime, during the transition from the current administration building to the new administration building. And that might be something to consider whether or not we're still moving forward with that plan of having an interim facility. And then regarding the overhead utilities being buried, I can respond to that because we do actually have an ordinance that specifically outlines that we do need to have any of the overhead utility lines buried within the right of way. That was passed in 2018. But something that's included as part of that third question is that all of the streetlights are on the current poles on the current utility poles. And it wasn't initially included as part of the plan for streetlights, so we'd have to specifically put new mounted streetlights. And essentially, we just wanted to confirm that we should be putting in new streetlights as part of that project scope, for the project.
Is
So
this part of the historic overlay? Do those streetlights have to be a certain way?
I don't think the historical really touches. the
Does it?
streetscape.
Okay.
It was just limiting what
checking.
people could do with the buildings.
Okay,
So we'd have lights, street lights like we've got in the rest of the village. We just need to make
Yes.
sure that we don't do those god awful 6,000 K lights.
yeah, I mean, that's just as part of it. We just want to make sure that we're including it as part of it because we're essentially removing where the current lights are. So they have to include that as part of their design plans.
I'm surprised it wasn't part of the plan to begin with, aren't you?
I mean, I think they did a lot of preliminary engineering and now we're actually, since
Okay,
we've made a determination which option we're going with, that they're moving forward on more of the design process.
so can we talk about timing on this? What is it looking like?
So again, if we're talking about it in terms of if we continued forward for the demolition of this admin building and we needed to have this project moving forward, it would be bid out for this upcoming winter and it would be constructed for 27. But if there are going to be issues with the admin building and we foresee issues with the staffing and moving to an interim building, this project could potentially be moved to a further timeline that is consistent with what we're looking at for the admin building to avoid 2 moves.
That would be 28.
Mhm.
It'd be early 28, right?
So we'd probably be having everything be constructed. So the timeline for the admin building is that we'd have construction start in 27 and in 28 as part of this. So if we moved it back a year and didn't demolish the admin building next year, we could potentially avoid doing the double move.
How does it affect the cost? Are they gonna go up?
In terms of which specifically the cost.
What
for
it's
the
costing us to
triangle
do it for the
project.
triangle?
I mean, there's always that risk of having increases in the future if it's delayed.
We won't really know. I mean, it's gonna be a guess.
Well, it'll go up.
But I think there's also an expense and also a loss on staff time. I mean, like if you move, you're not doing other things. And it's gonna cost us to have that interim space. I think we push it off to 28 but we push it off to 28 and we don't have the admin building done by 28, then I think we have to do it anyway.
Okay,
So I'm saying we push it, but we don't let it slide past that.
so have we looked at alternative locations yet?
So that's gonna be part of the next discussion that we'd have some alternative identified as part of it, but let's just make sure we get through the A&E portion that we're moving forward with it. But I mean, NWTC, as you discussed, might be an option. Potentially doing something at Village Hall or another village building temporarily or having a dispersing of staff. We'd have to talk about some different alternatives, but it just depends whether or not we're doing 2 moves or we're doing 1 move.
Isn't it just much more efficient if we tear that building down after?
Yeah.
We build a new one and work toward that.
Yeah,
That's just the hard thing about being tied to this project and saying we're gonna tear down this building for this project, because we also have to delay it. And I think this project was supposed to start in 25 and end, right now. So it's just continually moving, this project down, which I'm not saying is the biggest priority.
And what's the downside of that?
exactly. What's besides it gonna cost more, and it is. What else?
Just essentially not having the road conditions and that we've anticipated this project, moving forward.
I hear you, but I mean, that's a really low traveled road back there.
I'm not advocating for it.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm trying to protect the disruption on you and the village staff.
And that's what I'm trying to advocate as part of this, is that essentially there's
Yeah, sorry.
concerns that were brought up about moving twice. If we can move it back, we
Concerns
should.
by staff, you mean, right?
Concerns by staff
Okay.
about moving it
Okay, I get it.
twice.
Yep.
And that essentially, if we can move it back and there's no concerns with it, moving the street project and not having that done, that we push that back to align with the timelines of the admin building.
All right, so then let's go back to Wolf and say, maybe they need to be informed, at least if they end up being, like, this is the timeline, and, because when I looked at your overview, I mean, they said 28, but is it?
So it's the full project to everything that was included as part of this, is that we'd be starting it in 26. And that we would be starting the design process in 26, ending in 27, and then we would be having it bid out in 27. And then, moving forward in that process. So everything was communicated. They were saying ending, but we can reiterate that to them as part of it.
Right, and then when were we planning on tearing it up and doing the construction?
So it'd be 27, 28.
No, what
Yeah.
time of year?
Well, we do it as soon as everything has
Spring?
thawed out. Yeah, spring. So we typically bid in winter. You're doing everything in spring.
So it'd be spring of 28.
Well, it'd
I'm
be
just thinking from a timing
20
standpoint, Wolf would have to know, like, we need it by February, or whenever we're gonna start tearing up
We're good.
bluff side.
We're talking the building out here, starting that construction would be spring of 20, or that building would be spring of 27.
Yeah,
And then the other building, for whatever reason, we're gonna demolish, first week of building, 1930.
why don't you
That is
move
gonna
it-
happen
move
in,
it to Paula's neighborhood. Okay, keep going.
so we're gonna demolish a perfectly good historic building, it used to be the Bank of Sturgeon Bay, built in
I
1930.
thought about that, we should keep that stone, but keep going.
So, again, we're gonna do that in our infinite wisdom in the spring of 28. That's what I would think for this.
Okay, at the same time that we start tearing up bluff side, because it goes down at the
Yep.
same time we're tearing up bluff side, okay? And what I mean is, like, then you gotta tell, whoa, like, 28 means early 28.
We wanna move in January.
Unless SBA wants it, we change plans.
Do you
I
want
mean,
that,
that would've been-
you want a pretty building?
It is.
Would you want a home?
I know it is.
Like, that's really what you're asking, like, do you want a home or do you want
If
not
go
a
to the
home?
bowl tonight, Paula will be there, ask her about moving it, she's good at that.
She's good at moving.
She's good at moving buildings,
Do
just
you have a place? for
what
us
she
to put
does
it?
with
Yeah.
them once they're moved. Pardon me?
I said, do you have a place for us to put it?
Ah, no, I don't.
It's a great place where it is.
Okay, so what do we need for this, anything? Just
So
information,
essentially,
right?
just confirmation,
Okay,
if we're looking at it, our anticipation is to move the project timeline, we just need to make sure that we're communicating that to them.
uh-huh.
And then also that we're saying, yes, we want to include streetlights because it's a cost that's also designed that they're gonna be
Yeah.
doing.
We
Otherwise,
just replace the streetlights that are already there, there aren't very many, but, right?
But we're gonna have
that
to,
might be,
they're gonna be more of them because they're gonna be shorter, smaller.
yeah, I was
That's
gonna
fine.
say, they're gonna come up with a
They'll design
plan,
it, okay,
but we need to make sure that, yes, we need that included.
okay.
But I really would love to see us say that we want that to be 3,000 K or warmer. In there,
I think that's, I'm, whatever, I don't know, all that stuff confuses me.
it's a
But
warmer,
as long as it's
like,
not just this glaring horrible,
like what we have now with a blue
like what
light.
we have now, yeah. Okay, we don't need a vote then, right?
No, it's just, community, yeah, it's just
Okay.
this communication.
Staff report, item 6. Any questions on, Eric's Parks and Street Director's report? Hey, I have a question. You did fill all the potholes throughout the village and all the streets we talked about, huh? Okay,
Yeah, staff completed that.
great.
Now we're on to shouldering.
Well, that, when you talked about infrastructure and seismic shift. I don't know.
That's baffling us too. Even the engineer out of Stantec who's on retainer for us, Skylar, is baffled by that movement.
Well, is it gonna continue?
I hope not.
It's inconclusive, but.
So.
I reached out to the DOT,
Yeah,
under Skylar's guidance.
Yeah.
I have not heard back from him yet regarding our movement issue on the hill.
the
But
top photo, where's that one?
it's on Gateway Drive.
So that's Gateway across the street from the old schoolhouse or on the same side?
That's going up the hillside, going south, so that's on Gateway's side.
Going up
So
the
that's on
hill,
the curve of Gateway Park.
going south.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
so you'd
okay,
you'd be heading south.
okay. And where's the other one?
That's on the hill on 42, right next to that driveway on the hill.
What driveway? Churchill?
The house that's located on the hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, his highest driveway entrance
on 42, not
on
57.
42.
Okay. Well, they're both on a hill. That has maybe something to do with it. I don't know.
That's,
Well, people break a lot. People are going around, I don't know.
We've also had earthquakes. We really have.
Okay, Mike, we had a earthquake in Sister Bay and a street
Yeah,
falling
you-
apart,
you-
just so you know.
The US, it was like a 3.2 somewhere off. I mean,
Seismic
you-
shift is
you
not
know
in
what
our
I'm talking
budget,
about, so.
not paying for it, so don't even ask, Eric.
well, the most concerning thing about, you know, even Gateway is that was completely flat this spring. And if you
Was it?
guys have, it was completely
I gotta drive
flat.
by there on my way home.
And I would have assumed from the pictures that it was just ice related damage, but you're saying in the spring, it thawed and it was okay.
It was fine.
Hmm.
All of that movement has happened this summer.
That's unbelievable.
Well, we had a lot of,
Took place
do we have, do we have a lot of water?
Yeah.
What
a lot of
happened?
water
What did you
this
say?
Spring.
Sarah, what'd you say?
So I'm not,
Earthquake took place in June, wasn't
Did it?
it?
I don't know if it was an earthquake or if it's runoff. I've just been monitoring it and I'm just trying to look for some answers to see how we can rectify it before it gets even worse.
Is it, yeah. So you, your Stantec guy is gonna tell you what's up?
Well, Skylar has stopped out and looked at it and he's equally as baffled, so he gave me the contact from the DOT. So I reached out to him and I'm still waiting on word from DOT to maybe give me an assessment on what they possibly may think is happening. Because for this to be happening in the summer is bizarre.
So if, I'm not saying that Skylar doesn't, everybody has got blind spots. Nobody knows everything. And if we have an engineer that says, I have no idea what's happening here, I understand we've got Stantec on retainer, but maybe we should get a second opinion from somebody else. I mean, like, and I understand the DOT may provide that, but if the DOT doesn't tell us something, let's see if somebody else has some knowledge on it.
Yeah,
I wonder if Robert E. Lee's ever seen this, or I wonder if, you know, the people we're working on with on the 57, I mean.
Are you talking now about the concrete or are you talking about the asphalt crack?
both. They
That-
both started forming this summer.
So how long ago was the work done?
I'm not sure when Gateway was repaved. I could look into that and
Well, the reason I ask is if they didn't properly prepare the base under this the way it should, and there's some water moving around underground. I mean, you're right to figure this out, because even if we just cut that out and repatched it, it'll happen again,
That's-
if we don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
I think the whole sub base needs to be redone if it's water movement.
Right, but then I would argue there's some culpability on the part of the engineer and the contractor that we should, you know, let them know of. Because those are to very specific DOT standards, I assume.
And that's why Skylar told me I should contact DOT because that other incident is coming onto the sidewalk, which is connected to the highway, and DOT operates under some very strict,
Yeah.
stringent
Yeah.
operations.
That's the
Gateway
way
is a
they
little
do that,
different.
then.
Gateway is a sister base street,
Yeah,
but it's odd how they're both tied together on the hill right now. So obviously the hill is having some kind of movement issue. Because we're seeing it happen.
It
okay.
is
let us know
kind of
what
weird,
the-
even a little creepy.
What the DOT said.
Yeah, it is a little concerning, you know, because when it had the pinching up on the sidewalks had actually gone down. It was actually elevated quite a bit higher. It's probably gone down 4 inches, but when that heat wave happened, that thing was on the rise almost daily, pinching upwards. And there's a lot of spanning and contrasting in concrete, but that amount of movement was crazy to witness.
Okay, and then as far as the Baroques. Can we spray, I know it says you need to test the soil, can we get them before they die?
So I reached out to the DNR. And I also reached out to a local tree guy And they both kind of came up with the same kind of answer without even, with them even not even talking to each other. And they felt like the sod, even though it was irrigated, is soaking up all the water for them. So they recommended tree rings.
Yeah.
And open it up. So we did that on those 3 there. I have plans of doing the other 3 on the other side of the pump shed.
All of
And,
those are bur oaks.
and we're gonna see how they respond to a more open, direct line to their root system.
Okay. Okay. And I'll get, I know that you still need some painting at the Historical Society sign. I'll ask John, Gary Walker.
Do you want me to give you that,
But they look better, but,
the sign, that painting?
oh, yeah, what is it, a plaque that goes up there?
Yeah, it's a plaque.
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay,
Yeah, next time, I don't know, next time I'm in the village or something, or I'll come over and get it.
yeah, just text me anytime.
Anything else on Eric's report or questions for us, Eric?
Nope, no questions at this time.
Okay. So, no, item 7, matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee, official, or employee.
Dog park?
Dog park for the next meeting, okay? Hopefully we have a list from them, let's see, I wanted to, at the next meeting, I wanted to recognize, Joy Lang. You know, she did all of our flowers for a long time and on a volunteer basis. And there's now, we have someone else that's doing it, but I'd like to recognize Joy with just a little thank you, if that's all right with everyone.
You want to do that at parks, you want to do that at board?
I think Parks is fine. Yeah, I think Parks is fine. Anybody else? Well, this is the next meeting. Well, we'll just put it on it because the next
Yeah,
meeting will be
yeah.
budget.
Next regular meeting.
Yeah, anybody else, you guys? See, oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Up at the old schoolhouse. Maybe it would be a good idea, you know how it says men and women on the doors?
Yeah.
Take that, why don't you take those signs down? Since we're not operating it as a restroom any longer. It's just gonna be a cute old building for the moment. It just invites a little less stuff. If you're okay with that. I don't know if that needs painting or not, but maybe for now. I don't know, anybody got anything else? Okay,
Covered a lot of ground today.
all right, so now we have the 8th and the 8th. Because we're going on a little, we're going on a road trip out to, Wiltsey. Sorry, Wiltsey, oh my God, out to Lagerquist, right?
Is that today?
No, on the 8th. Yeah, we're going out there, yeah, we're going out there, yeah. You got a food truck out there, we're gonna have dinner.
1
Yeah.
PM for the regular meeting, so it's just the Tuesday instead of Monday, and then at that meeting, we do need to wrap up. Sooner so that we have a 3:30 walking tour at Lagerquist.
Can you send us the invite on that? Well, if you don't mind.
Yes, I can do that.
Do we have anybody there besides Eric with us to like talk about the, like, how are the buildings or what would, or are we just gonna walk around and kind of take a look?
I mean, ideally from what was there,
We'll
is that it'd
sit
be
on
one
Lagerquist.
agenda item.
Lagerquist,
Lagerquist.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
If we could just like make notes of what we would be providing as recommendation, we'd probably want to follow up in a meeting, in which
Okay.
case, as long as no actions are made.
We're not gonna, I will run away if we start making motions during that meeting. That's strictly, cause one, I like Sarah, and that's mean.
That was last.
And that was very mean to do, this, the fact that Sarah didn't run away after that one, that was her first meeting.
Bad,
And we,
it was bad.
so, no, we can absorb all the information, take notes, and then talk about the meeting here.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second, all in favor?
Aye. Okay,
Thank you for sticking around.
thanks for sticking in there, ladies.